Hey, my. Oh. Hey, guys. Welcome to your Aunties Could Never, a podcast for cool aunties and uncles everywhere, where you hear no nonsense, straight talkings. I'm Auntie AK, and I'm here with
Auntie Farah.
You're on mute, Auntie Nana.
Auntie Nana.
And Auntie Sade.
Hi, my ladies. How are you?
Good.
Good. Very good.
What's going on in everyone's lives? Anything you want to report in this early stage of the show?
I started a new job today. Yay!
Yeah. Can you say where it is? Can you say where it is?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. So I started a new job at Warner Brothers Studios. Yep. Big things. Got my own office. Big things. Really good. Really cool. Really yeah, I'm excited. I am very excited. Very excited. It's a big role, but I'm very excited by it. That's that.
Very good. Anybody else got some big news to top this big news? Or equalize? Or just under?
What's your news, Auntie AK?
My news. What's my? I think I'll leave my news to my mad. I'm about to call out people and then madness. But yeah, other than that, yeah, we'll talk about that later. All right, guys.
Hang on. We do have news. We are on an episode of Pod Bible, and that's all of us were interviewed by a lovely guy called Adam. That's his name? Yes, Adam. And it's a brilliant interview. It's out now. It's episode 104. Please find it on Spotify, Apple, or go onto their site, Pod Bible. It's an episode featuring all of us together talking about our journey with Your Aunties Could Never.
Yay! Okay, get your plate. Get your plates, get your drinks. Let's start the show. Auntie Farah, how are you going to warm us up today?
Okay, so because I started a new job, I thought I would do some great icebreaker questions. So should be able to do these fairly easily. So the first question that I would like to ask is, what is your favourite item that you have bought this year?
Oh. I know there's something, and I'm gonna be mad if I don't. Oh, there's gonna be more than one, probably. You know me, but the first item, 2 items, my daily paper dress that I wore to the BAFTA party, because it was just it. Why I love it so much is the fact that, first of all, I love daily paper, black-owned brand as well. Love daily paper and everything about.
I think they need to sponsor you now, because
they really do.
Like it's
going to be every week.
You mentioned daily paper like it is the daily paper.
Basically, they are my daily paper. But just to be clear, like I needed a last-minute dress. I didn't have the right things, and then the woman in the store suggested the one-shoulder, and I don't like one-shoulder dresses. Usually, I find them annoying, but this one was perfect, and I love it. It just did the job. And the Kurt Geiger shoes that I wore, that normally I can't wear heels anymore. But I really had to adjust to wearing platforms. These were kind of a platform sandal, and I lasted 90% of the night in them. Apart from when we went to Daniel Clear's party, and then I had to put on the trainers because we wanted to bust down. But other than that, they held me up the whole night. So those are my 2 items at the moment. I don't know what else. I'm sure there's something. I know there's something I'm missing. Auntie, anybody else?
I really can't think of anything this year. All I can think of is like, okay. It's not an item like that. It's a new restaurant that is opened up on our high road, and they just do the best brunch, like a kind of breakfast brunch thing that you can go to. And that's probably been one of the best places that I've spent money so far this year. And I've been there almost weekly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Auntie Sade.
What's the question?
What's the favorite item that you've bought for yourself this year?
Oh.
Why does the face look saucy?
There's too many things. Okay, I'm gonna go with my earrings. So I got these. They're very like in at the moment. My LV earrings.
Oh, I love those. Those are lovely.
Early birthday present for myself.
Mine is very practical. I bought myself a new rucksack because I don't like bags because they hurt. It's weird. I've got a bad back, and anything I have that's got my laptop in becomes an issue. So if there's a bag over my shoulder, that's an issue. And a rucksack isn't 100% great either, but I feel like the weight is distributed a lot more evenly. Okay. So I bought myself a really, really nice rucksack from Harrods, actually, because I had a voucher. And it's really nice, and it's got great compartments, and it fits my laptop in, and it's all super smart, and it's black, and I love it. It's great. So that's that. Very practical, not very sexy at all. I did buy myself some really nice shoes as well, but they're not my favourites yet, but they're really nice. But yeah. Okay. Next question. What would be the most surprising scientific discovery imaginable?
What? I need some guidelines. What do you mean?
Like, if you were to find out something, like it could be anything, it could be very, very random, but what would you think would be, what would surprise you the most? So what scientific discovery would surprise you the most?
As in, that we're trundling along in our life, and then we're like, oh my God, they've discovered this, and we just found out.
Yeah, like, oh my God, the Earth is actually flat.
Okay, well, the Earth is actually flat.
Yeah.
That Jesus. No, I was going to say that Jesus lived in Shepherd's Bush. I don't know.
Why would scientists like come along and be like, so we found Jesus residing in Shepherd's Bush?
It's a scientific discovery, I guess. Performing miracles from a stall in the market. That's mad.
I think all sorts of things like the Earth is flat, like we're all in one big giant simulation. Like,
yes,
fires are real. Like, you know, we're aliens. You know, like there's a, what do you call it? That the ocean is actually the sky. Just bear. I think it's just like
that we could teleport. I think if we could teleport and we could have all this trouble that we've been troubling, if we could teleport all now, I'd be pissed. And then like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Auntie Lana, I'm surprised you haven't got about 10.
I've got so many. Is like, I'm like, what's the biggest? Because you said what's the biggest one, so I'm thinking what would be the one thing that I'd be like, oh my God, that's crazy. That the moon is really
made of cheese.
No, a ship. And if you get to the moon, you can fly away. Like it's just a massive spaceship waiting for us to get there. Okay. That I'd be like, wow, it's real.
Interesting.
Okay.
Mine would be that all black people are really not black people. That we're white people, but we're living like in a game where they've tricked us because the black people have realized that the white people are oppressors. So they've tricked us into thinking, they flipped it, basically. This is a simulation. We think that we're being victimized because that's the way they want to keep us with, because, yeah. Imagine that.
I think that's real.
I'm saying
not white.
We the oppressors.
Yeah. Like they figured it out. Black people have figured it out.
Oh, so we're actually white people.
We're white people, but that's because black people have figured it out. Yeah, they figured out that the only way to keep black people down or white people down is to make them think that they're black.
So the whites out there are black people, really?
Yes.
And they decided, let's change it around.
Yes, to keep. See what I'm saying? That's how they keep the power, because they've you know, they've gained the power.
That would make us really bad.
What?
That would make us really bad.
No, because we are just happen to be like the offspring. We're not like the oppressors, like in the sense of we're the ones that had the slaves. We're not them, but we're like the offspring.
We feel like current white people now.
Yeah.
Yes, current white people. Yeah, I know.
It's a bit.
Imagine if that happened, you'd wait. You know, someone say like it's a game. You're not really black. We're just, we're black.
Just
We're just holding you down because we figured out that the best way to hold you down is to make you think that you're oppressed.
Boy, there's truth and there's madness.
Oh, that is like that's a trippy film. I'd love to see that come on TV. Like, that's mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of weirded out by that thought, but I like that.
Yeah, that's it. I have no more. That's it.
All right, moving on. Who are you working with in the family, Auntie Sade?
Okay, so, and forgive me if I pronounce names wrong, but I am welcoming Nneka Akudolu and Laurie-Anne Powers, who are the 6th and 7th Black women to be appointed the Queen's Counsel. And if you don't know what Queen's Counsel means, in the legal world, the Queen's Counsel are barristers or solicitors, advocates who are recognised for their excellence in advocacy. And they are often seen as leaders in areas of law and generally take on more complex cases that require a higher level of legal expertise. And we're just really proud of them. I think it's pretty amazing. So sending them all the support.
Yeah, man.
Welcome to the family.
Welcome to the family. All right. Now you're listening to Your Aunties Could Never. Don't forget to please add your reviews on Apple Podcasts and your likes on Spotify. And I must, which I'm not prepared for, I'll come back to it. I'm going to read a lovely review that we had on our YouTube channel. It's very, very beautiful. I will come back to it. I'm not prepared. I don't want you lot sitting there watching me scramble. But don't forget to rate us on our respective podcast platforms because it helps us become rich, wonderful aunties. And so now we're going to get into What Have You Heard? This is where we discuss the news stories that have got us talking in the week. Auntie Nana, go for it. What have you heard?
So my story is, I'm sure everybody, I hope everybody by now has really heard about what's been taking place in London with childQ. This story broke 6 days ago now. I'm just going to read like the beginning passage as it broke on BBC in regards to the safeguarding report, and that's how the news came to our attention. I will read the first part for you guys. Okay. Right. A black schoolgirl was strip searched by police after being wrongly suspected of carrying cannabis. The traumatic search by Metropolitan Police officers took place without another adult present at the girls' secondary school in Hackney in 2020. A safeguarding report on the incident concluded it was unjustified and racism was likely to have been a factor. Scotland Yard said the officers' actions were regrettable and it should never have happened. According to the report, the impact on the pupil referred to as childQ was profound and the repercussions obvious and ongoing. Family members described her as changing from a happy-go-lucky girl to a timid recluse that hardly speaks and who now self-harms and needs therapy. So from you guys, I just wanted to get your general thoughts on what has taken place, and as more things have come to light that we know about what took place in the school. So just your thoughts on that. And also, if you could just enlighten us with putting yourselves in the parents' shoes, what would you do in this situation?
Auntie Far.
Yeah. It's so awful on so many levels. I just can't believe that you send your child to school and your child's supposed to be protected by the people. You hand over effectively your child for those types of hours that they're in school. You hand over the safety and the well-being and the care of your child for the times when they're in school. And you really think that they're going to have your kid's best interest at heart. And to know that nobody was present when this happened is traumatic. You said put yourself in the parent's place, put yourself in her place. Even as an adult, put yourself in her place where you're being asked to strip search and you're on your period. And to be of an age where your body's going through changes, and there's not a single person there to protect you and to say that this is wrong. it's just awful. And I think that if I was this child's parent, the next piece of information that you would have heard is that her mum is currently serving time in prison, because something would have kicked off. Something would have definitely kicked off, and it wouldn't have been very pretty, because the poor, she's gonna be traumatized now for such a long time. To go from a happy-go-lucky child, as they described her, to what she's going through now, and I don't understand why it's taken this length of time for it to come out as well. It feels like some sort of cover-up, that it's taken this period of time to be highlighted. It's just, the school is wrong. Apparently someone's been sacked. One of the teachers have been sacked. I think more people need to be investigated, because let's not use that person as a scapegoat. There was more than one person who made that decision. And even if they did think that she had cannabis on her, why didn't you call her parents first? Isn't that the procedure? Aren't you supposed to call someone's parents first? If someone's been arrested and they're underage, you have to call their parents. And she wasn't even, I can't get my words out, because I'm just really, really heartbroken by the whole story. And I just feel so sorry for her as a woman to have to go through that, as a young woman to have to go through that. It's humiliating. And it's just not nice.
Auntie Sade.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, along with everybody, when this story broke, it was just, like, I couldn't believe what I was reading. I really was, like, just thoroughly really shocked. I think, like, the unfortunate, like, detailing of her having to, like, bend over and cough, and it's just like, do you know what I mean? Like it's just awful. It's just terrible. I feel for the girl, to be honest. I really, like, that could be anyone. If we took that back in time, that could be any one of us. It could be your sister, your cousin, your niece, your daughter. Do you know what I mean? Like, kind of thing. It just could be any one of us. And I just think that I just, really, like, remember being in school and being kind of, like, targeted by some teachers, actually. Do you know what I mean? And, like, so I just really kind of thought, like, oh God, we're just not safe anywhere, are we? Do you know what I mean? And still in this day and age, I think, it's giving racist, it's giving anti-black, it's giving paedophilic, it's giving anti-woman. Like, it's just all the horrible things that you could think of. It's just absolutely awful. And, like, I'm glad the teacher was sacked. However, that's not enough. That person also needs to be prosecuted. The school needs to do some sort of reform. I think that other teachers that knew about this as well probably need to be sacked. The police officers involved need to be sacked, and they cannot work in positions of authority anywhere ever again. Like, it's just too. It's just not enough. And I think, like, there are some cases, and I think, like, maybe this will be one of them. And it shouldn't take this, but where people who are outside our race, like, actually understand the difference. Because if this was a white child, this would not happen. And that is just a fact. And there's no way, like, the parents of, if it was a white child, would deem this by any way. It couldn't be explained away. It's not acceptable. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing. And it just is just a blatant example of racism and discrimination. Like, this is what we're talking about. This is it. Do you know what I mean? And I think so I think it's quite powerful in that sense. And I do think, obviously, do you know what I mean? Like, in terms of, like, how it's going to impact us and maybe change some things in our society. because there are those moments when that happens. And I think, I'm just like, I don't know, I'm not really like a religious person, but I was just like, I don't know, I just had to say a little prayer for them. Do you know what I mean? Like the family and the girl, and I just thought it's awful. And her, and her friends, and do you know what I mean? Everybody around them in this, I just feel for Black girls everywhere, really and truly, because this easily can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, this very much upset me hearing it. As Auntie Forrest said, I put myself in that position, and then I've thought about my child being in that position. I can't imagine getting that phone call, because the times when my child's called me upset from school before because of stuff that's gone down already, the way your heart races, the way your emotions are warped, and you just want to fly. And then we talk about teleporting. If you could get to the school any quicker, it's just like just pounding to get to the school to sort stuff out. And I just can't imagine that feeling, let alone, adults being stripped, so as we said, like having a child. It's at that point when people, the police officer, 4 police officers that were there, they must have known that what they were doing was wrong. When you get to that point where what I'm doing is wrong, but I'm going to do it anyway. There's no, and so what's in your mind when you're looking at a child who's on her period? And it's those levels of things. We can't even talk about periods in society. We have adverts that show period as blue, water. We can't even show or discuss periods in a way that's lets the world understand what it is that women go through. It's so taboo still in 2022. So imagine what this girl has subjected, because under society, where the period is seen as disgusting, dirty, and is something that we're not allowed to talk about. So imagine the shame that this girl has grown up in this world where periods are practically shameful. So then you've got to expose your whole body to 4 people who are violating you in that respect because of weed. My mum, bless her, is pretty conservative in her views. Even she was like, it's just weed. And I mean, if you know my mum, she's not going to talk. She don't say it's just weed for anything. My mum said, it's just weed. Call her parents. Call somebody. You don't have, it's just weed. It's a Class C drug. Even if she's the biggest, baddest dealer, if you don't know that she's the biggest, baddest dealer in school, for example, I'm not even saying she is, because there's rumors saying that she's a dealer, whatever, even if that's your thought, why is she in, why haven't you taken further measures? Why haven't you got the school, what checked out her situation? Talk to her parents. Why aren't those measures in place? She shouldn't even be in school. If it's that bad, then I'm not condoning because Black children get excluded more than anyone anyway. But if it's that bad, we're not condoning breaking the law, and she shouldn't have been in school then, if that be the case. Why is it all this thing about smelling like weed? Smelling like weed what? And what? How many children smoke weed? If it's true, there was nothing found on her. They have found nothing on her. So that was a lie as well. So what is this? When you have a teacher that might have a vendetta against you, as Auntie Charlie mentioned, there's teachers that target you because they just don't like how you look. I've heard that she's got, I don't want to, people are trying to protect her identity, but what's out there is a conversation that she had locks. So how sometimes people view Black people's hairstyles, see locks as threatening. Whatever the case is, somebody targeted her and decided that it was okay to have her subjected to this kind of madness. I don't know. It makes me tear up every time I think about it. I'm very proud of the people that turned up for all the marches. I don't know. I can't. It's really it's distressing, and I don't know what those people were thinking. It's like the guy that the people, and as Auntie Shadi said, it's that thing where there's a monumental moment that potentially changes the tide of people's perception. But why does it have to take Black people all the time to go through such extreme, dirty situations for people to empathize with what we go through on a daily basis? It's mad. I don't understand. Why can't the wider world understand what we go through when we just say it? Why do we have to have extra proof, and to the detriment of us and our community? It's nuts. This girl is damaged. It's horrible. So, yeah, I don't know. Auntie Nana.
I think the reason why this actually kind of has the traction that it has is because it's been almost everybody unanimously being like, this is out of order. Listening to Nick Ferrari and James O'Brien literally having the same thoughts on this was also like how disgusting it actually is that it took place, because there didn't seem to be any of that type of thing of, oh, I wonder what she's done before, or any of the excuses when something is done to a black person that seem to go, and it's just straight up, this is foul, this was wrong. I hope lots of different measures come into place. And I was really, really glad that the protests were really well attended, because sometimes, again, you don't see that force when it comes to black women and black girls as you do with black men and black boys when something happens to them. So I'm really glad that this has really swept everybody to be like, actually, we need to look at the education system and how it's not just black boys that are targeted, black girls are as well. And to me, there's just no other way than they wanted to humiliate this girl. So from when you searched her, you found nothing, but you called the police. The only thing that the police are going to do now is do a strip search, because you've gone through everything, even made her take off her shoes. So anything, if she has it somewhere else, it's on her body, you're going to need the police to do that. At that moment, why was nobody else called? Why was social services not called? Why were her parents not called? Like, this doesn't, it doesn't make any sense, other than we want this to take place and this girl to have to go through this procedure and be damned with how she deals with it afterwards. Like, it's, I can't even imagine. I think the whole school should shut down. Like, I don't think it's fit for purpose. I don't know how you can carry on effectively teaching people when this has taken place under the management team, that kids are going to feel, am I even safe in this building? It's like, it's one of those, it has to, they close down schools all the time. For less than this, I think the school should definitely be closed down. And then also it's come to light that this isn't even like a one-off. Like, there have been other cases where kids have been strip searched in school, and maybe a nurse has been present, but their parents haven't been called. And it's like, why are police allowed to do this to children without a parent being there? And if a parent isn't there, or they're in care for some reason, there should be an appropriate adult. I don't think any police officer should be searching kids without somebody else there. That's just, that to me is very, very paedophile type behavior. Like, I can't see how it's taken this long to come to our gaze that this is taking place. And then also, why I kind of ask a thing of, what would you do if this happened to you or your family? I really feel for the family that they didn't feel empowered enough to come forward before. Like, in 2020, I can totally see, with the context of what was taking place in 2020, how you could have lots of authoritarian people around you being like, you need to wait for the review to come out, you need to wait for this report. Because in 2020, if this had come to light, where with George Floyd and the way everybody was protesting all the time, this would have been something to kick off in London, definitely.
You're right, 100%.
And I think
Definitely.
necessary, you know, at that moment in time, because everything was so heightened, that this was also added into the powder as well. It could have shook up a lot. It's very fortunate that it's come out 2 years later, when we're coming off of the back of a pandemic and there's a war. It's like we're bogged down with news, and then you bring this. Very sly, but I hold nothing, pure empathy for the family, because I can imagine you don't want things kicking off in your child's name, or my heart breaks for them at the same time to be faced with that. But I also wish it had come to light earlier.
They become targets, don't they? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Put yourself
Yes.
there, you become a target. And I think it's just, you know, what this is also an example of is the adultification, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Of black girls, which happens all the times, like and just black children in general, actually, kind of thing, that we are just seen as older than we are, and we're not allowed to be children, and we're always kind of like treated more harshly. Do you know what I mean? Like, more harshly and with less empathy. And I think it is, like you said, Auntie Nana, is encouraging that people are not kind of making excuses for this behaviour. At least some of them are. Do you know what I mean? But there's still incidences, do you know what I mean, out there and stuff. And I think it's almost, there's no kind of logical reason to do what they did. Like when you really pick it apart, she was sitting in an exam. You can smell weed, but you can't see her smoking. She's sitting in an exam. Do you know what I mean? So if you think something's on her, okay, cool, but then just wait until her parent comes. Do you know what I mean? And I agree with you. I just don't think it should be allowed that police officers should be able to do that. They need to wait for a parent. Like, it's not so urgent. Why is if the act is not taking place right there in front of you, what is the urgency?
It was just a vendetta.
Do you know what I mean?
But you know what's interesting? Like, you've all kind of like used the word targeted, because, and I'm glad, Auntie Nana, you said that it's not, you know, I can't remember if it was you, Auntie Sade, when you talked about black children being, you know, targeted, because they are. It isn't just black boys, it's black girls, it's black children. And it's sometimes that thing where people feel that you've got a little bit too much personality. You're a little bit too much for them. And they want to quiet you down. They want to dim your light. They want to take the shine off of you. So what they do is they put kids in these situations that will humiliate them and will basically affect them in many different ways. With black boys, they stick him in jail. They put them on medication, you know, to take away some of their emotions and to control them. Oh, they put labels on them. So it doesn't surprise me. It breaks my heart, like you've all said, but it doesn't surprise me, because these are the tools that they use. It goes back to colonialism, unfortunately. It goes back to slavery. What did they used to do when someone was a little bit too, like a wild horse, they would say, wouldn't it? How do you tame a wild horse? What do you do? You beat it down. You beat it down. You do that, don't you? That's what people say. So it's just, this is one of the oldest tricks in the book that they've been using on us for centuries. And it's awful. I just cannot imagine how that child's feeling. And this, you know, this is going to haunt her for a very, very, very long time.
I just wanted to read some of the stats that they said that a guy on Twitter, there's a feed from a guy called Tom Kemp. Strip searches routinely used by the Met Police. There were 172 plus thousand strip searches in the past 5 years. 9,088 strip searches were conducted on children. This includes 2,360 on children under 16. In the past 5 years, the Met Police conducted 57,733 strip searches on black people. So 33.5% of strip searches were conducted on black people, when 11.7% of Londoners are black. In comparison, 27% of strip searches, 45,947 were conducted on white British people, who make up 44.9% of Londoners. And then they, you know, it's just mind blowing. I was going to say about it being like a slave on a block, the way they used to inspect us. And you know, when they say that the ancestors or the generations of white colonialists or whatever, the white privilege and power that's instilled when you grow up in a world where you are the dominant ones, you inherit the traits. I don't care what they say, you inherit the traits. So somehow you see this girl as a slave on an auction block, man. The way that they've dehumanized her, and you see that you can just bend her over and inspect her and not see it as a child. How can you look at that person and not see a child? The
thing is, it's just like, where is the threat? So even if she is hiding weed in her drawers,
where's the threat? It's exactly, what's the immediacy?
And you know what I mean? It's just not necessary. And if anything, send her home.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, send her home. Why is she at school?
I just don't understand. Like, it's just so, and like taking her out of an exam when everyone's there, your whole class can see you. Do you know what I mean? It's just classic.
It's the ultimate power control.
That's what it
is. You know, we are in control of your every move. I'm going to make you take off your clothes. And you're going to stand in front of us naked, and you're going to bend over. It's the ultimate form of control. Absolutely. And you've got to do it because they're the police. They're the people who are in power. It's the ultimate.
And depending on the time when it happened, if George Floyd was going about, what is she thinking? What would she have been thinking in that time? Like the fear, the absolute fear.
Yes.
What was she thinking in that time?
I think that's all part of it. I think that's all part. You know how lots of people were really like, these guys are getting above their station.
Yeah.
And it was ruffling a lot of white people. I actually think there is something to that, just that time of 2020.
Yeah.
Also the dulling down of this. as well is all a part of it. It's like this
Absolutely.
can't get out. I really am like, this girl has no shame whatsoever. This is like something has been done to her, and I really don't want her to internalize this as like I'm a part of this in some way. If she could really get proper intense therapy to remove that shame stigma that comes
Yeah.
along with this. It's all on them. It's all of the teachers. It's the nurse that left her station to allow the two police women to be in there with her to strip search her. She needs to go. It's the head
Everybody.
teacher. The head
Yeah.
has to be the one that called the police, because that's the pecking order for when you're going to call police into a school that's outside. It's not a standard teacher. It has to go through the head. So he needs to go, or she needs to go. Like, there's too many people in it who have had a job for 2 years until people started protesting. You all need to go. You've had a fat check for two years now. But all of you need to go. It's thoroughly disgusting, and they should all be prosecuted as well. Definitely,
Yeah.
there has
I
to
agree.
infringe on some type of duty of care. Something. It's not just losing your
They
job.
shouldn't be able to work with children anymore.
And,
No,
yeah,
absolutely.
and they need
Your
to see
license.
the school as well.
And the school should be shut down. Yeah, definitely should.
They need some money. They need to some
Oh,
compensation.
the suing is.
Absolutely. Left, right. If it was America, they'll
Yeah.
be suing.
They are suing them.
Yeah, they are.
Suing both. They're suing the police and the school.
Sue everybody.
They need to be paid properly, like
Yeah.
not so 50,000, 100,000.
No,
You need to be talking millions. She was 15 years old. Millions need to come from everybody's coffers, especially Hackney.
Yeah.
Hackney are always talking about how they ain't got any money. But Hackney Council, this is what you got to do. You have to pay up for this. Like, I
Absolutely.
don't think you awarded this institution an academy, so you should also be responsible for some of this blame as well, because the academy obviously isn't fit for purpose. So everybody who's been a part of this should be affected financially.
And
Honestly, sorry, go for it.
No, I was like, just to quickly say, you know, when the show We Are Black and British, the reality type discussion debate show that was on BBC, and we had that candidate, the Conservative Dominique, who was, you know, when they went to the school, and she was very critical of the black school that put race not at the forefront, but taught Black history in a way that empowered the children. And as a result, the success rate of the graduations of the kids in that school was high. And that's the real conversation that needs to be had about how Black children are taught. They need a different, they don't need white teachers that see them as animals or see them as grown adults when they're children. We know our people. Black schools are more for it, more of that, to give a different perspective. And that's why the big conversation in America about critical race theory not being taught, because the white kids are going to be, you know, feeling upset about their history. Be taught the truth. Empower Black children. It's not just empowering white children. It's not that. Regardless of the working class situation, that's you lot's fault. That's not our problem. Don't lump us in with that issue, aka the Black non-racism report from Tony Sewell and his crew. What are they saying now? Sorry, Shade, before you wrap up, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, like, I didn't really answer the bit of what I would do if it was like my child. And I honestly, I find it very difficult to answer, because it would literally be a blind rage. There's no, like, there would be absolutely no control. Like, I probably would. And if I couldn't physically do something, then I'm hiring someone to take you out. There's like just every single person that can be identified that was somehow involved, every single person. If I could do what the guy done in Foundation and kill generations to come, that's what I would do. Like, everyone's going to get it. Every single person possible. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like, I just wouldn't be able to, you know, like you see, like, you know, people who get into activism because of something that's happened to them. It would change my whole life. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't be the same person again, right? Like, it's just, it would consume me.
Totally agree with you, 100%.
And whilst
I'd like to think I'd be one of those people that'd be like, I'm going to fight the power, but I don't. I blind rage. I'd literally want to take out everybody involved.
And whilst we're on your Auntie Shade, what have you heard?
Okay, so my story is about the smacking ban in Wales. So let me just So basically, in Wales, which is part of the United Kingdom, you cannot basically hit your child anymore. So this is a historic Labour-led win, basically. So hold on one second. I just wanted to get the right paragraph. So the legalization that has come into force removes the defence of reasonable punishment. So that's a key phrase that has been enforced since Victorian times in England and Wales, making all forms of physical punishment against children, such as smacking, hitting, slapping, and shaking, illegal. And the law will apply to everyone in Wales, including visitors in to Wales. So I just wanted to know, coming from, Black culture, like kind of thing. A lot of us were smacked, punished growing up. Not just Black culture, to be honest, but that's just our experience, right? Kind of thing. What do you think about this? Do you think the England should be next? And do you believe? What do they call it? Corporal punishment? Is that what you call it? Is that the?
Well, that's the bigger term of it all.
Yeah, kind of thing. Do you believe in it? Do you not? Do you think it's necessary sometimes or not? What do you reckon?
Auntie Nana.
So I kind of welcome this, actually. I think it's a progressive step, and I don't ever think it's okay to hit children. I have definitely smacked my boys on their hands and like their legs when they were little, but I definitely afterwards, and sometimes in the moment, did recognize I had just lost my temper. So as much as I'm being managed with how I'm hitting them, it's still like when I'm thinking back on it, it's like I was thoroughly annoyed and not in control of my emotions. And I don't think that's okay with children. So I'm for this. How they're going to monitor it or police it or any of that type of thing, I have no clue. But it's cool that it's there and people will start to think more about when they're hitting their kids and that it's not actually okay. I think it's very interesting that this isn't being enforced in England yet. And I wonder why. With their brutality, I think it will take a little while before the English take this on and put it into law. But they need to. They need to actually think about how violent they are as a society, and actually maybe if you stop smacking or you put in place that it's not okay to do that, maybe it would filter through to other things that they do that is very violent to humans. So yeah, I welcome it. I think it's good.
Auntie Farah.
I mean, in all honesty, I thought this happened in the 90s. I've just read it and it's like it was other European countries that actually banned it. But I thought this happened in the 90s because I remember one of my cousins, one of my uncles, hit him. And he was like, I'm going to call Childline. It's illegal. You're not allowed to hit me. I'm going to call the police. It's illegal for you to do that. It's against the law. So I thought this happened in the 90s. Like, I didn't, yeah. Who knew that it wasn't actually a law? So, I, as Auntie Sade said, am from, grew up with parents, grandparents, aunties and uncles who they would call it, they're chastising you, but I suppose for me, you shouldn't ever beat your kid because I think a lot of us were subjected to some serious different level type of beating that could be seen by someone as a little bit abusive. Not to say your mum's abusive or your dad's abusive or whoever, but I do think there is an element of sometimes when people beat their children, it is more about their temper and their control as opposed to what the child has really, really done. So I think people need to be aware of that. I don't know how people are going to actually manage this, how they're going to know if you smacked your kid. I think for me, in my parenting, I would be lying if I was to say that I've never smacked my child. I obviously have, but it's not a practice that I do. Like that is like it's very few and far between that I've done it. And because I've experienced being hit out of anger, that's not something that I do, because I just don't think it's effective as well. You know, I certainly got to an age where it was like, they're going to beat me and it's going to be over after a while, and then I'll be able to go about my business. For me, punishment worked more if something I enjoyed was taken away, if I was grounded, or if I couldn't use the phone, or if I couldn't watch the TV, or stuff like that, as opposed, you're going to beat me, I'm going to cry, and then afterwards I'm going to be okay, because you become immune to beating in a way. If you know, I'm probably not explaining that in the right sense, but
no, I get it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So I don't think that's an effective way to punish, and certainly my daughter's more sensitive if I tell her I'm disappointed in her. If I have a conversation with her and I let her know that what you're doing is not right, it's not very nice, it's, you know, that sort of thing, that affects her far more than if I was to beat her. But there is that fear, because I have smacked her before, there is that fear that it could happen again.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need to. I actually don't need to, because if I push it, this might happen. But she doesn't ever push. She's actually a very good kid, so I'm quite lucky. But yeah, I think some people need to know that it's not okay. But I don't know how it'd be managed. I'm rambling.
I used to think that beating was necessary. No. I always thought that we shouldn't have the law intervene in how we parent our children, because then it starts to get a bit sticky and messy. And it is that thing. Like, if I'm now like doing a reasonable smacking on my child, what I think is reasonable, and then for some reason I could get imprisoned or fined, and especially the pressures of being any type of parent, whether single, whether in a relationship, the pressures that this society puts you under, and the fear of outside in the streets, and especially if you are talking about Black children who have a different type of reality in certain situations, and trying to keep them away from the perils that is growing up as a Black child in inner city London, for example, or any inner city. I would hate to criminalize those parents who feel at a loss of how to reach their children. On the flip side, as I became a mother and as I parented my child, I remember the one time I felt like I needed to be, I can't remember what she did, and I had to smack her up. And I was smacking her, and I think I've said this before. As I was smacking her, I wasn't getting the satisfaction, it wasn't connecting. And it's a very mad feeling, like it wasn't the slap that I wanted to slap her to get through to her. It wasn't reverberating in my hand the way I wanted it to. And I don't know what I was expecting, what I wanted to feel. And after a moment, I was like, this isn't right. I'm not doing the right thing. And it's me wanting to get through to her because I'm angry at her. This isn't doing anything. It's not making sense. And so I stopped. And then from then, and she never got beat. Like a slack on the hand, like a little flick or something, like stop doing what you're doing. So there's an element of, as Auntie Forrest says, a fear that there's levels that this can get to, but we don't have to go there. Don't push me to that level. And also, it is about disappointment. It is about removing things that they liked and that type of narrative. So I don't know about it being a lawful thing. I think it's necessary because there are children that are being abused. There are children that are in situations where the parents are just lashing out and beating them for any minor thing. And I think that gives them a little element of protection where they can have at least something potentially, if the lawyer is working the way the law is supposed to work and not in contrast to what's, human rights and stuff. You've got an out. You've got somewhere where you know that actually you can't be doing this to me, parent, and I can go to the law and get you in trouble for doing this. So can you watch yourself? So I don't know. I'm leaning more towards this is a good thing, but the society doesn't prepare people for the mental health toll that it takes on being a parent in a society that's under so much pressure. So a parent that loses their temper one time potentially, and I'm not saying that excuses what they do to the child. I'm not talking about an extreme, but they might beat the child in a way that maybe they had all their temperaments and wits about them they wouldn't have done. And if it's because they're under pressure from work, life, whatever, I'd hate for a parent that's potentially a good parent to get into more trouble, and then the family split up, the child's taken away into care, all that type of stuff. But I also think it's a good thing the law's there so the child has some sort of out if they are in that type of situation. So I don't know. Auntie Sade.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of a little bit similar to you, Auntie AK. Like, I don't think like the law should, that you should have a law to do this. Do you know what I mean? I think it should just be common just be like our culture almost. Like, do you know what I mean? So you wouldn't need a law to do it. However, it just can, I don't know, it does protect children, but I just also think it can be manipulated as well. That's the other side of it. It's not really a positive thing to say, but I do, like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to be emancipated for your parents, then you could just easily say, she hits me or he hits me, kind of thing. Or if, you know, the parents split up and, you know, they could tell the child, just tell them that she hit you or he hit you. Do you know what I mean? And like, I think it depends what like the actual consequences are and stuff. But I just don't like the government being involved in like that aspect of family life, or in a lot of things to do with family life, to be honest. It makes me a bit uncomfortable. But then at the same time, I was brought up in a household where violence was rife. Do you know what I mean? So like, it was normalized to me, like, and also like just the social, like, I remember my dad used to have this phrase, like he used to say, not that my dad wasn't even the violent one, he like maybe only hit me twice in my life, but that was like enough, like you guys are saying, like, to just like, no, like, I'm too scared, like, do you know what I mean? But like, he used to say, when children make the rules, the country falls into disarray. That's what he used to say. So it's just, if you lose the power to be able to control your children, do you know what I mean? Then they become more powerful and they're not mature enough to make decisions, and, you know, do you know what I mean? And all this kind of stuff. So that was his viewpoint. Or to me, how I interpreted his viewpoint, at least. And yeah, I don't know, it kind of just always stuck with me. And like, the children I have like helped raise, and I've helped raise many, you know, I can't say I hit them like a lot, but I don't think I ever done it out of anger. Like, it wasn't like a moment, like maybe they've done something, but it's like, your punishment is, do you know what I mean? And this is that, do you know what I mean? But I don't know if that's even more disturbing, to be honest, because if you're not enraged, do you know what I mean, and you're doing it very like methodical, like, this is what's happened and this is your punishment and you're gonna get free hits, do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? That is, but then at the same time, there is a very clear understanding that you're getting this because this had happened, do you know what I mean? So there is that, not like, oh, like, you know, something's happened and you've just gone into a rage and you just threw them across the floor, or, you know, punched them in their face, or, you know, just grabbed anything to beat them, or, you know, making them get a belt and to, you know, or pick a branch off a tree, like all these psychologically damaging things that some of these parents do to children. So I think it's complex. I do think it's complex. And I think like our, you know, we particularly, like, our cultures are different. Do you know what I mean? So we have to navigate that space, having like dual cultures. Do you know what I mean? So like, I think I definitely remember growing up, and I'm pretty sure you guys do too. Like, you know, there's something you might get hit for at home that your white counterparts at school did not get hit for. Do you know what I mean? Or told off, or, you know, chastised or whatever in some sort of way. So I think, I don't know, I'm a bit on the fence. Not that I think you should hit children. Generally, no. But I don't want the government to tell me that I can't do it.
Yeah, I think there's something in it what you said about our cultures, because I do know many a black child who, in my community, and I'm speaking from the community that I grew up in, and I know they're white, you know, I knew white children in school who were beaten and who had the fear of God put in them, and especially if they had a very religious background as well, going home to, like, because they did this, that, and the other, the fear of God was them. I went to a Catholic school, so I knew many a child that was like, nah, man, if I go home, I'm going to get bust up. So it's not exclusive to black people, because I'm just talking about the community that I am from. There are definitely kids that, like, you know, you got beat too much for certain things. But also, what is interesting when you're black in a country that's not your own, your culture is demonized, and things that we still talk about things like on TV shows. When you see black children, especially as we are evolving and getting more globally collected and our cultures are merging, there's an element, especially when you're looking at TV shows that display the affluent Black family, sometimes in order to depict the affluent Black family, they've adopted the behaviors of the wider mainstream, considered mainstream culture. So they're doing things like answering back. They're doing things like putting their feet up on the couch. They're the cultural boundaries that we grew up under that I think were okay, having respect for your parents and things like that. And yes, there needs to be some adjustment in some of it, like by default, you've got to respect because I'm your auntie, your uncle, your mum. With even though they haven't maybe earned the respect, there's an element of discussion there. But generally, our cultural isms as Black people, I think, are good ones. A lot of them are good, but yet because we're in a liberal, so-called liberal country, they get demonized and frittered away and diluted into. It's okay to have table debates about the fact why I'm pissed off because I can't go out with my friends, nanny, daddy, like all that type of shit. That's not it. You're not going because you did something wrong. Why are we now open to debate? And then removing that element of punishment how we do it legally, I think it will demonize non-white cultures a lot, because I think a lot of, not just Black cultures, brown cultures have that element of punishment. But again, I'm not advocating for a child to be bust up for no reason. I'm not advocating for children and for adults always have carte blanche control over kids, because I think there's an element of, there is a new generation of exploring conversations and different ways of parenting. I think those of us who've grown up in very strict Black households as well welcome the new way of having conversations and discussion about certain things, and not just being do as I say, not as I do type of ruling. Yeah. But there has to be a bit more, as I say, for everything to do with Black culture, because of the stuff that's been imposed on us from slavery, colonialism, and all the stuff that we've had, we have to have different rules. We have to have slower steps towards the rules that you guys impose on us, because we've grown up in a different existence, and what we see, it's just not, it's not fair. But I'm not advocating that parents should just be able to beat.
I want to just go back to what you said, Sade, about both of you picked up on it, culture and our Black culture. And I kind of see it from a different angle, because I feel like with the interruption of slavery and colonialism, a lot of our parents and grandparents were actually beaten. They were brought up in very strict, different ways than is not necessarily African. And so I don't subscribe to it being us. They were in really harsh conditions, and that survival instinct and kids can be seen and not heard. I don't feel like that's intrinsically African. I think that has actually come from Europeans suppressing our Africanness, and were very brutal. So a lot of brutality that kind of goes on in households, I don't think that is from us. I actually think that's a European standard that we've kind of taken and have adopted it, like this is our culture and this is how we parent. And it's like, actually, it's not. When you look at the correlations between that and a slave master, they're very close. That kind of, what's the saying? Is it spare the rod? Yeah. I don't think that.
I don't agree with that, but I think that we sometimes forget that, before slavery, like, Africans kind of governed themselves, and they would, take over other tribes, or do you know what I mean, to make their tribes bigger and stuff, and they had their own practices too. So I don't know if it's like, I'm not even, I don't know.
I agree where you're coming from, Nana. I think it's something that, and I agree what you're saying, Auntie Charlotte, because I think there's, as we talk about the romanticism of our original roots, there's documentation of how we lived, but not enough to really know what was ours. And definitely there was an borrowing of cultures when the colonialists and slave masters people came in. So there's things that they learned. There's a lot of stuff that they learned from us as well.
Most cultures did that in a primitive way to control their people. Like,
there were different methods.
So I just don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure. I'm not kind of even talking or referencing like extreme measures. Do you know what I mean? I guess what I'm saying, like, is more like maybe just getting a wooden spoon on the hand. That's basically what I'm saying. Like, because, but then at the same time, there's another side to me that's just like, is there ever a reason to hit a child? Because
that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, exactly.
My brother, how he raises his children, he does not at all, has not ever. Do you know what I mean? And like, his children are fine, absolutely. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's you know, there's never like, you know, and I kind of quizzed him on it, kind of thing, and it was just like he's just never had. It felt like it was reason enough where that was going to make a bigger difference to like challenge the understanding of what the lesson it needs to be learned in this moment. You know what I mean? So I just thought it was like, that made me pause. I'm not saying that I'd beat every come here with a wooden spoon. It's not that, but
I actually think the wooden spoon is abuse.
My gran used to say, "Go and get the palette."
What's a palette?
The palette,
Square thing, isn't it?
the square thing.
Like a paddle, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, the paddle thing. Oh,
The palette, yeah. She beat you with a palette.
I think it's that thing of getting, and because you want like drawing for something. I think I remember my mum one time, she was so frustrated, she drew for the telephone wire, but then she gave up, and then she stopped beating me.
Yeah, that's a standard.
To find something, the board or something.
Or the curtain wire.
The curtain wire. That's that action.
That kind of like, to me, seems, and it depends how many different types of beats that you got as well, kind of thing, to know which ones, it sounds funny, but which ones are more meaningful and more scarring, because a curtain wire will lick off your skin,
or a towel,
bleed. Like, do you know what I mean? You will have welts, whereas a wooden spoon, not so much. Do you know what I mean?
Depends the angle, but you're right. Like, unfortunately, I could probably, you know, a few of us can probably tell you how different things. Like a towel, if you whip someone with a towel in the right way, that's shit, man.
I think it's like it is about you, like drawing for weapons is a next level, because because it is, then it's like, what are you actually doing? What is your outcome? What's your point?
Intent, isn't it? Really?
What's your intent? Yeah.
Like, you like,
I want to hurt you because you've made me angry.
And if like in my situation, the person that's they're beating me until they are tired. Do you know what I mean? So they don't care about my state, like what, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like until they're a physical.
So that's like their arms is now too tired to carry on.
But then equally, there's drawing for something, and then there's tucking somebody in, like there's someone on road.
Yeah, that
too.
And I know
I've watched that.
And
the thing is, I was just gonna say, well, like the and I don't. This is probably not a good story to say, but is the truth that for the path my life went, that gave me a sense of a deepened sense of awareness to be able to read people, to sense danger, to be able to get out of situations, to actually take a beating when necessary, know when to get away. Like, I can't, like, if I didn't go through that, I would not have that ability, and I probably wouldn't have survived my situation. And that's just a fact. And it's probably a very sad fact, but that's just how it is. Seriously.
Yeah.
I think. Boy, I don't know.
I don't. Thinking of that stuff, you know, as somebody who's never been hit from either parent, never. It's just not. It's not happened. The most my mum did was pull my ear, and that only happened once. And I still like winced at that, and it literally was a pull. But watching my friend get beaten up in my house by her mum, that was terrifying for me. I was so scared because I literally thought she ain't getting up again. And then when she got up, it was like, raw. That was like they're fighting.
And was
so scared. Like my heart, I was like, if this happened to me, I think I would die from the shock. Just the horror of it. I don't know how I'd be able to process it.
But remember I said to you that you get to a point where you understand the beating.
You just
you get to that point.
Yeah,
most definitely.
I'll be thinking, what am I gonna eat for dinner? 100%.
I remember getting beat one time, and I'm like, my head's not even there. And then like that's making someone else more mad.
More mad because
I'm not giving them the reaction that you want to get.
Yeah.
But that's because I've got to the point where it's like,
it is what it is.
you know.
Yeah.
But it's such a tricky one, because I do think that drawing for a weapon is bad, but beating someone like you're
a man of man.
Some of the worst beatings I've got weren't from my mum. That's all I'm saying on that. Worst beatings I've got.
All right, Auntie AK, what have I heard? Well, we have Kemi Badenoch, who is let me give her a proper titling. She is Equalities Minister and she's a Conservative, and she's moving forward in the position of people are starting to say, "Oh, this could be our Prime Minister," and at the very least, the Labour, the Conservative Party leader, because of her kind of problematic right-wing views. Those of you listening, watching from the States would possibly compare her to Candace Owens and the such. So she's a black kind of conservative / right-wing, depending on how far you see her views, pundit. She spoke, and we discussed childQ. She basically said that though she called it an appalling incident, she welcomed the fact that the Met had apologized and that the case was being investigated by the Independent Office for Police Conduct, which is the IOPC. She also added, what we cannot do is stop any bad thing from happening to anyone in the country at any time. That is a threshold that is impossible to meet. But what we do know is that everybody is rightly appalled and outraged by what happened to childQ. That is an example of a country that cares about ethnic minorities and about children in the system. And we will continue to do everything we can to support them. She's also, we mentioned the race report that that was led by Tony Sewell, that basically dismissed the fact that though it acknowledged there is racism, it kind of diluted the pressures and issues that we're suffering under racism in this country, and basically said it's not all bad. And he's been he's had an honorary doctorate withdrawn from I'll find the university, and she's criticized that, saying that the choice to deny the chair of the Commission on Race and Ethnic Disparities, Tony Sewell, an honorary degree would have negative impact on the ability of Black people to speak out. And she's speaking about Black people having alternative views to the so-called liberal woke views that I guess a lot of us have. And she's also gone on to say that it's her mission to address inequalities in our society. She said she came to the UK from Nigeria as a 16-year-old child and grew to love it. She said the values we stand for are those that raise people up and see the best. And she says that she said what she learned about the United Kingdom and the empire in Nigeria was quite nuanced, and we should continue to teach a nuanced view of the empire rather than one that downs it. So my question, no, it's not a question, it's just pondering thought, is what are your thoughts about Kemi Badenoch? And it's more than just, okay, she's a Black candidate, the UK's vote on Candace Owens. The only line of interest I kind of maybe pulled out of what she said is the fact that when Black people have alternative views to the norm, how do we navigate that? And I think we've discussed before that sometimes a lot of us do have quite conservative views about things. However, we generally are not for the oppression and the suppression of, the minority in a country that's oppressed them for generations and decades and stuff like that. So I just wanted to explore that kind of conversation, where she's coming from, and the fact that possibly she's being primed for Prime Minister, possibly she could at least be the Conservative Party leader. What are your thoughts? Auntie hasn't gone first. Sade?
Yeah, I mean, as a Nigerian, I'm just deeply embarrassed by this. I'm embarrassed. Like, seriously, I just can't. Like, I think, what, one thing about my people I will say, is they're always good for a debate and exploring ideas and like having different views and stuff and everything like that. That doesn't mean that it's a good fucking idea. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't mean that we should put it into practice. Just because you can argue something doesn't mean that's the way it should be. So yeah, I just it's just frustrating. Having someone like this, I don't even know how to explain it other than like, I don't want to be xenophobic, but no, you can't come here to this country. You're not even born here. Just no, you're not going to be Prime Minister. No, you're not. No, I know that doesn't sound good at all, but like, no, I just think you have no fucking idea of what it is to live and grow here as a British person. That's not your experience. So how dare you speak on it? To be honest, yeah, that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts actually.
Auntie Nana.
I was just reading the comments and somebody said, like, this is a really pragmatic and well thought out, reasonable argument that she's putting forward. I hope politics doesn't dim her fire. It's like, people are full of shit, and so is she. And I agree. I think I'm kind of flabbergasted that she's made it to be an MP. You came here at 16. And this is only because you have these crazy thoughts and leanings against Black people. The fact that you're calling us ethnic minority, for one, when we're the global majority, you're a fool.
Right.
And I don't think that she should be in Parliament. I feel like you should. You should be born here. I'm sounding really like right wing about it, but I do think her being 16 when she came here from Nigeria, I'm thoroughly like, how are you an MP, please? Like, you haven't even gone through schooling here. Like, that's not okay. So yeah, that is one. But she's just such a little, I don't even want to say the words, but we all know it begins with a C in lots of different ways. She's all of the C words. And it's annoying that yeah, it's annoying that she gets such a platform to speak on so many. Like, they always wheel her out with the Black issues, and she's always there to say what a white person would say, but would be called racist. They always wheel her out saying all of that, and it's like we're sick and tired of it. And I really hope, like, she gets real hard stares and a hard time at all the family gatherings. I hope people take her to task in her normal life, but she probably isn't really around other Nigerians or Black people. She probably hangs around others. Yeah. There's that leaning, isn't there? And that's all in the education. That's what I'm saying, like, from the topic before. It's how you're brought up and the institutions that you go to in the colonial countries as well that reinforces what happens over here. And so you can come over here and you've been indoctrinated that the motherland is great.
Yeah.
And what they did to us isn't so bad, because before they came along, we had bones in our nose. And it's just like, this is all lies. It's all lies. But if you're fed that every day and you really do believe that this is the hub of heaven, you're going to come here and chat shit on a daily because they fed it to you. And she's just one of those chat shit on a daily chicks.
Auntie Farah.
Oh, she's a walking contradiction, isn't she? She's literally a walking even just reading what she's saying, like, she's got all the classic lines. I've experienced racism and I know what that does. Sean Bailey said that. But it's not racist. We shouldn't say the whole country is racist. We're tearing down the institution. Look at us. We're a great success story for democracy. And, seriously, she should just seriously sit down in a corner somewhere and be quiet. I don't understand why I do understand why she's got a platform, because she's all of the C words, like Auntie Nana said. On one hand, she's talking about if we want to achieve greater equality, and we can't fall for the narrative that this country's institutions are fundamentally racist, right? Then she says in another bit where racism does exist and that, there is definite disparity amongst people, and not everyone is as privileged or as fortunate as she's been to experience England or the UK in the way that she's experienced it. Then she says that she has experienced racism. Like, I'm just confused by which way you're trying to go. I don't understand which way you're trying to go. But maybe she's just not the best person to talk about this sort of stuff. She didn't grow up here. You were 16 when you came over. Your experience as a 16-year-old is fundamentally different to being in school as a child and realizing that you are not the same because your white counterparts are saying different things to you and your teachers are treating you differently. She's not had that experience. She just hasn't had the same experience. And I just wish these people would stop saying that it isn't so bad when it clearly is so bad. When did this come out? When did this article come out? When did she start saying all this shit?
She's saying it now. This is
that's my point. She's saying it now. And listen to what we started. We spent about 45 minutes talking about childQ.
Yeah.
45 minutes.
She doesn't have the authority or the insight. And I don't even think it's like that colonial kind of like viewpoint. It's just what is the pathway to success? That's what it is. That's
all this is. It's
about trying to get ahead, trying to be noticed, trying to be a leader, like, and what is the quickest path to do this? And this is like you said, Auntie Nana, they'll wheel her out anytime these issues come up, and then she gets the attention and she gets that position, and no doubt she will get support for sure. She will get. She will,
because she also said the key thing about, it's not just, hang on, I have to get the exact words because this is just typical. Crap, I can't find it. But basically, she said it's not just about ethnicity and race because you have the working class white boys as well.
She's saying Counsel, and it's just
all the time now. It's not the same.
It's such a false equivalency, and that's what the report tried to lean on. And it's that thing where those sensitive blacks that don't want to make it all about race because they feel sensitive in their space and because they've allowed their white people to talk to them in any type of way, and they've agreed and like, oh yes, it's true. It's not all about black people and all this type of stuff. You've allowed yourself to be placated and be rolled out in your circle, especially if you are surrounded by right-wing conservative type people, and you're the only black in the village. You then find it hard to explore the depths of the truths that is. Working class white boys, okay, that's not our fault, that's not our problem. It doesn't mean that there's not racism and oppression against black people in the country. It doesn't mean that.
At the same time.
Two things can always be true, because and that's not on us to dismiss for the sake of white boys, because those working class white boys, one thing that you've all watched My Fair Lady, all they have to do is speak posh, put on a suit, and they could potentially inventing analysts.
Anyway,
we have to go through. We can't change our color, can't change our appearance, and for those of us who don't want to change our culture and what we're into, we can't hide. So even on a very simplistic, basic comparison as that, don't try it. Don't compare us and put in the same boat. Kemi, I mean, I'm all for us having freedom of opinion and not being oppressed, because we've spoken about sometimes if a black person speaks well-to-do, as it were, and doesn't drop their eye, or whatever the case, speaks well, they get criticized, get accused of being a coconut. That I definitely experienced that going through school, people assuming that because I spoke well, that I didn't know anything about blackness and black culture. So, and you do go through those things. I understand that people need freedom of opinion and freedom of thought, but do not do it at the detriment. Don't lie. And as you guys have said, the opportunist, being the only black in the room that everyone's listening to, you've got some insecurities there. You're not valued. And so you want to be valued in these spaces. So you're the only black that means that has any relevance and power in amongst the white space. And everyone listens to you. It's an ego trip. You cannot sit there and tell me that you really believe everything you're saying. You really can't. She really can't.
No, the thing is, but she reminds you of those people who, I'll be careful, but like when you work in a corporate company and maybe you work in marketing and you're supposed to do B2B marketing, but you've never run a business in your life, or you've got no clue of how it runs, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Talking about what you've been taught or what, do you know what I mean? What you think it should be. Do you know what I mean? That's what, it's all theory, babe. All your opinions are theory. They're not practical.
And the thing is, her opening, the thing that she says first, building a better life for you and your family. That's what being a conservative means. That's the promise that Britain has always offered. Are you smoking?
There's no evidence of that. There's no
evidence. Are you smoking?
He's selling the weed.
I don't even say that. Where's the evidence of that? We're in a country that's acting, and that's the part. Like when you guys,
as well. Sorry, can you go and sort out Nigeria, please?
Exactly. You left Nigeria to come and tell.
Then come and talk.
We literally have turned into right wingers. Go back to where you came from, love. No, because you can't. It's true what you said. You cannot have the experience of not living here and understanding it, and possibly you're coming from a privileged perspective. You cannot be on an estate, be working class, be Go on, Auntie Farah.
The UK is an amazing success story of multinational, multi-faith, multiracial democracy respected across the world.
By whom?
What are you talking? What are you talking
It's
about?
a lie. I don't like the lip service.
How can we have an equalities minister who hasn't actually gone through schooling here to know anything about equality? How can she's the minister for equality? She came here when she was 16. How did she even get this job?
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense that she even was given this job in the first place. And her views go actually counter to a lot of what goes down in equality legislations. Like actually when you're writing up what would make your equality policy, what she says goes against that. So how can she be the minister?
I think we must be careful because there are lots of immigrants who come over here and do get into positions of power and can make the world a better place. So there's an element of, I guess.
No, I still don't care.
No.
But,
no, a society that sees everything.
No. There's a line.
Yeah.
There's a freaking line. Do you
know?
Line.
I agree.
Listen,
I'm just saying.
A society that sees everything through the prism of race and ethnicity will never be the society at ease with itself. Oh, but honey, a society that does not own up to its racism and its racist past and its racist institutions will never free from itself.
And of course, she's against critical race theory. Of course, she is. You can't be apologist. You cannot be an apologist. You cannot be a black apologist. You cannot be a black apologist.
It's like she wants us to go to zero and build from there. Free taxes, pay us $1,000 a month. When all of these things come into being, then we can be like, you know what? They're actually actively trying to get us on an equal footing. So let's start giving them an inch because they actually are trying. Until that time, what you're aiming for is not going to happen because it hasn't been done. We can't. There hasn't even been a sorry. So we're getting no sorries, no nothing, and then we should be working for an equal society. That's foolishness.
And she knows because she will have seen the documents where our country, where the African countries on the continent and Caribbean countries are still being colonized. Us have still got Western businesses with their tentacles deep entrenched in our soil, raping our lands. You come from back home to come and say that the empire's wonderful.
Sorry, can I just the point of her, them saying that she's primed to be prime, that's not happening.
No,
she's literally a pawn. This is just like to rile people up, basically. Do you know what I mean? Because the fucking audacity, how freaking day. Could you imagine? But I can't lie. Could you imagine? It will be a cold day in hell if they make a Nigerian prime minister of this country.
Yeah, that's not happening. It's just
hand in hand. I wonder if her and Pretty get on.
No,
of course not. They're two people of colour getting on. That's not going to happen. They're too busy trying to fight each other.
Yeah.
Trying to deport her.
Position at the top.
It might try and deport her, isn't it?
Yeah, Pretty's going
to be looking into her passport and her residency status. Have you got permanent stay? Have you?
All right.
Definitely.
What have you heard?
That leads on quite nicely to my topic, actually. So William and Kate have had to cancel a trip, one of their trips in the Caribbean to Belize, because the villagers basically protested and said that we don't want you here. Leave our land alone because of the colonial history. And it's just come out as well that Jamaica are basically saying the same sort of thing, like, don't come here. We don't want you here. You're not welcome. What do you guys think about this? And also, what do you think about the whole tour that these guys are trying to do?
Can I just go? F the tour. Leave us alone. Go back to where you came from, disrespectfully. But what annoys me though is, as I thought when the stories were out that there was protests, I thought that meant they cancelled the tour. They didn't actually cancel the tour. It was just one particular part where they were protesting, and they did continue their tour. And the media has done counter stories showing Kate and Prince dancing with Belize people, and the culturists came out and did traditional dancing in front of them. So it all went ahead. It was one particular area that they were protesting, they didn't go to. So that annoyed me because I actually thought, yes, Belize, go Belize. But actually, it was just one section that they cancelled their tour of, and then they still continued. So that irritated me. And I'm all for countries that were formerly enslaved and colonized by these people and their families to say, no, don't come. You can't come in. The shield is up. When you come, you'll bump your head on the glass and go right back onto your plane to where you came from. That's what I hope for us all to do. Auntie Nana.
Yeah, no, I want the protests to be really widespread so that they actually have to cancel going to Jamaica. I'm hoping that takes place. But I'm really glad that they haven't had what usually happens with royal tours, is that really kind of open arms, and everybody's really happy to see them. That this tour has come up against quite a lot of backlash, and people being like, why are they here, and why are we celebrating 70 years, and do we actually really need the monarchy? I'm seeing that far more in various different forums. So hopefully it's not going to be too long before this institution is over. I don't even know now if William is going to be king. And if he is, he may be the last one. Because I just think everybody is sick and tired of it. And the world is changing too fast. But just not into this pomp and ceremony and spending money on these paedophiles. It's like they can go.
Auntie Shadow.
I want to say allegedly after that last bit, Auntie Anna.
I didn't say who was a paedophile, I just said paedophiles.
Okay, cool. Well, just for safe measure. My thoughts on this are, like, why are they going on tour? Why are they going on tour when, number one, we're in a war? There's just been a pandemic. How are they affording this? This is our money. This money should be going to NHS workers. I don't understand why they get to go to a holiday in the Caribbean where people are suffering, can't pay their fuel bills.
Right.
I mean, the cost of food has just gone up. The whole cost of living has gone up. Why are they going on a tour, please? For what reason? No. They should not be accepted or welcomed at all, kind of thing. They need to come home and sort out the mess that this government has created. Come and help clean up the mess. Do you know what I mean? And yes, I think as well, like, nah, it's over. This monarchy shit, it's done. It's done now. We're bored. It's enough. And also as well, it's like, unless you're going there to talk reparations, then what are you going there for?
To dance
and do weird and be carried on a bloody chaise. Auntie Farah.
It's annoying.
Auntie Farah.
So this is the same man who said he blamed the black birth rate in Africa on the decline of the wildlife over there.
Yeah.
This is the same man who likes to come out and say that, we need to look at the environment more and people need to stop, burning energy and using fossil fuels and all of this stuff. But he's flying around on his private jet, going around the Caribbean. This is the same man who the other day was talking about, we don't see war in Europe. It's usually these blackies. He might as well have said it right. He didn't say that. He basically said, it's in these other countries. But you're going around doing this. Why are you doing it? Because you're scared of the fact that Barbados, who were known in the Caribbean as Little Britain, probably the last country in the Caribbean that you would have thought would have done this, were the first people up in however many decades to say, nah, we're all right, we don't need you. It's coming up to the Queen's Jubilee. They're trying to get all the colonies together and just make them, reinstate their power. Royalty, like you guys have said, is coming to the end of it now, isn't it? The monarchy and what it stands for is coming to the end of it. What is it they say? The curtain has slipped. We can see what's behind. We can see what's behind it. It just makes me laugh, the contradiction so much in what they're doing. William and Kate, they need better PR because this is not cutting it. They're going to Jamaica tomorrow. They're due to land in Jamaica tomorrow, but there's protests because people want them to apologise. I mean, what is the problem with you not apologising? You can apologise to everybody else. Everybody else. You can apologise to. You apologise for things that have nothing to do with you. You apologise. But you can't apologise for colonialism and slavery. But you want to go to these countries and act like everything's cool.
And
you didn't even apologise for the racism that you enforced on your own brother's wife. Mother of your niece and your nephew. You denied it, but you want to go to these black countries and wave your hands and be expected to be treated in a way that is your royal state. I just don't get it. I'm just bored of it all. I just wish that all the colonies throughout the world, whoever's left in the Commonwealth, I just wish that everyone would just say, enough is enough now. We don't want it. If you can't admit to the stuff that you've done, we no longer need you to have anything to do with us.
And just to clarify, it was the demonstrators they were due to tour a cacao farm in Belize, and the demonstrators voiced their opposition to the royals' visit due to dispute over contested property between residents of Indian Creek Village and Flora and Fauna International, the conservation charity that William supports as a patron. And you know how we feel about charities.
Flora and Fauna, that's funny as well, because isn't that what they referred to Aborigines as until, when was it, 70s or something like that? Not in the 70s. Flora and Fauna, that's what they referred to. They weren't humans, they were flora and fauna.
See?
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for you guys.
Go on.
The Queen's Jubilee, yeah? So that's obviously going to be taking place in June. Would it be out of order? So I'm not really for the monarchy. Is it out of order to take money in celebration of the Queen's Jubilee?
What do you mean? What, sell stuff?
Like if just to be a part of it, like to put on a party and stuff like that, because they're giving money to be a part of it.
It's not out of order.
Because it goes against principles to actually be involved.
No, I think if you took the money to throw an anti-establishment party, then yeah. But if you're selling, it's going to have a party and have all the British flags everywhere, then I'd be like,
it's our money. It's our fucking money. Yeah, take it back, of course. Why not?
Yeah,
and don't do anything with it. But I wouldn't. Not a party that looks like it's a celebration. That means you're part of it. It'd have to be something.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
putting a party that's in celebration of the Queen's Jubilee, even though you're against the monarchy, isn't that?
That's too much effort. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't put on a party. No, I'll take the funds.
If I can take the funds and find a way to just take the funds, but not.
I'd take the funds and I'd have a party, but it would be an anti-party, because what are they going to do? Who's going to come and actually check?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Has to be an anti-party.
Right. Why are you asking this?
Just asking for a friend.
Right. Yeah, you cannot be anti-establishment, take the money and put on a Jubilee celebration party, because no one's going to get the message, and you're just you're part of the noise. What you have to do is either find a way to get the money for yourself, and it is what it is, or put on an anti-party and make it very clear this is an anti-establishment party, and I'm celebrating, like all the black folks come together and shake up their asses and say fuck the monarchy every half an hour on an alarm bell. Yeah.
Okay.
All righty. Now let's move on to Aunties Know Best. This is where we get and resolve the issues of the day. Auntie Sade, take it away.
Okay. I have one,
Okay.
but it's kind of a long one, so I'll try and. It's more of a like, what do you think she should do? But she's kind of telling her story, so I'll just read it out. This was something I found online on Instagram. It was posted by the Closet Ratchet, and it reads: today I finally had it. I went completely off my husband, and I'm a. I don't know what that says. So she doesn't. Oh, sorry, I get it now. She's a stay-at-home mom. Those initials. She don't go out anywhere unless it's to run errands for my husband. One of my friends reached out wanting to hang out, which I actually agreed to. I was looking forward to it because it would have given me time with another adult. And I told him at 12 that I'm leaving to go to my friends and hang out. Well, he decided to go and get his hair cut. I said, no, you can go another day. I want to do something for me, and it's a chance to actually have another adult, other adult interaction. Well, he goes, and he says, I see this is important to you, so he would get his hair cut next weekend. But he still went, and he left at 9, and he didn't return to 1:30 p.m. She says that she was fuming, and because she had to let the girl know that she couldn't come because she wasn't sure what time he would come back. So what do you think? Like, she's at her breaking point. How do you think that she should handle this situation?
Auntie, no.
So basically, he has a real problem with her having a social life in any capacity. Like that's his
That's
thing.
the thing,
And
yeah.
she's followed through with this for a little while. I think it's those types of situations are real breaking points. It's you probably have to leave to set a tone of I'm prepared to leave unless things change. Maybe you can reconcile with some counseling and see how it goes. But it's one of those, it's a time scale. It's just I leave him. If he wants to pursue me, it's on these terms. If he's not able to do that, it's finished. Like you can't sacrifice your whole life to just be cooped up in a house just because some man says so. It doesn't actually make any sense. And then you can't do it for your kids because what are you setting? What tone are you setting for them? What example are you setting? It's actually just a very shitty situation, and this man just needs to be left alone to be alone by himself. Like this sounds hellish.
Yeah. Auntie Farah.
Yeah, it sounds like classic manipulation.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. Like just head fucking, basically. Not all abuse is physical. A lot of it can be, mental. I had a boyfriend once, and he was definitely a head fuck. Make you feel like you're going mad or that you're asking for too much, but being very controlling in this kind of way. And this is just, it's classic. He doesn't want to have a social life. He wants her to be isolated from everybody else. Makes her promises. Oh, but this is what I'm going to do. This, I'm going to do that, and then just doesn't come back. What's she going to do? She's got to stay, hasn't she? She's got to cancel her plans. But I think the best way forward is for her to try and suggest that they have some counselling. But he doesn't really sound like the type of person that's going to go for it. But she could at least make that suggestion and demonstrate to him that she is literally at the end of her tether. And if he doesn't, want to compromise, then what she should do is ask him to politely leave and come back when he's had a chance to think about it. And if he doesn't want to do that, then she should go. Because you can't live your life like this.
No way.
It's controlling her.
Yeah, you're not anyone's child, and you need a break. And if he really loves her as a parent, as anybody in a relationship, if you really love the person in relationship with and you're parenting and you love your children, you would not want to put that person through trauma and turmoil because you want them to be their best person, especially if you've got kids in the house. And people say, I love my kids. But do you? If you're treating their other parent badly, do you care about the kids really? It's about you. It's not about the kids. You don't actually care. I have a friend who went out and her partner said, you look ratchet. That's his way of, and then went on to dismiss where she went, saying, oh, that place is not anything. And I'm very frustrated when I hear these things because like this person is so insecure, but has in their level of insecurity, they still have power over that person because of their level of imagine you're making someone feel so insecure because you're insecure. And if only the person who's being belittled and undermined and reduced can see that the reason why they're doing it is because they feel less than even you, and they actually recognize your power and how strong you would be and better you would be even without their input, and how much you could thrive and survive without them in your life. But yet the way to keep you and to keep you down is to implement these things because they know they'll get you. It's disgusting.
Classic tool. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Classic tool.
It's absolutely disgusting. I'm with therapy maybe, but if you can get away from that person, because that's so sly. Like, that whole feeling like I can't go out. Like that's when you're a child and your mum's like, is it, if you're going anywhere, take the keys or something like that. And you can't. That's parenting. That's not, your partner should never have that dominion over you where you can't physically go anywhere because they said so. You fucking mad. Auntie Sade.
Yeah, it's just really selfish, isn't it? It's really selfish behavior, not the kind of qualities that you want in a partner, at all. I mean, like, if I think I'd probably do something pretty petty first. Do you know what I mean? Providing, he wasn't a psychopath and he actually knew how to look after the children as well. Do you know what I mean? Then, maybe I'm just going to go and disappear sometime while you're sleeping or something. Do you know what I mean? And you look after the baby, I'll just do what I'm doing. Because, just to demonstrate or showing like no consideration whatsoever of what's going on with you. And if it's like proper serious and just not light-hearted at all, or like just not just like a not to say an oversight, but sometimes some I want to say some men, they don't take what you're saying seriously. They're not trying to be malicious, but they just don't take it seriously, or they're just a bit self-centered, so they put their needs in front of your needs and think that you'll just deal with it because maybe you've dealt with some other things before in the past. Do you know what I mean? And if you're with them, then you must be suppressing some stuff, right? Do you know what I mean? So they're probably thinking, oh, why is this a big deal? Do you know what I mean? It's only because you're at the end of your tether now that it's become a big deal. So yeah. So if it's like not that and super heavy, then yeah, you got to leave, man. You got to leave, even if it's just on a temporary basis or something. You got to go because you're tired. Your mental health needs to be respected. It has to be respected.
And it's mental health.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's bad. I had a friend when she had her baby. She wanted to continue with college. She had a baby quite young. She wanted to continue with college. And they were together, but they were young, so they weren't living together. So everyone worked in her house. So in order for her to go to college, they kind of scheduled it so he would have to come and look after the baby while she was in class. Right? He just wouldn't turn up. It was It was actually it was like maddening. Like, you're actually an enemy of progress in this situation.
Yes.
What the fuck?
But this is the thing. These are the tools that someone who's a classic manipulator, they want to take all the power from you. So they take your ability. I had a boyfriend and he was like, no, yeah, go to college and whatever of this stuff. We were living together when we were really young. Go to college, do whatever. But then it became a thing of, oh no, you don't need to work. So I wasn't working. And then it's like, I've got to ask you for an allowance, and then you want to act funny. So it's like, fuck you, I'm going to go and get a job. And then it's like belittling everything that you do, putting you down. If you get put down, it chips away at you. You don't even notice it at first because it's little by little by little by little, to the point where you feel like you are not good enough and that you are nothing, because they consistently chipped away at your any kind of self-worth that you have. They've chipped away at it. And before you know it, you don't have anyone around you. You can't go out because you feel like you don't want to be around people because you have anxiety about your looks, your appearance, or just functioning, your ability to function as a fucking adult.
Yeah.
And it's like Auntie AK said, these people often have their own issues and they're scared. I mean, they can be. So they manipulate you into thinking that you're less.
Yeah.
It's projection, isn't it?
Yeah, it's projection. That's their power. It makes them feel better about themselves because they know they've got no power elsewhere. And I definitely, when I was in the case of my friend, I've had boyfriends that have done that, but definitely in the case of my friend, it's what are you doing? Like, when you look at what the partner is doing, what are you even doing with yourself? She's on a rise, and what are you doing? Like, it's so. If I could backhand,
unfortunately, what has to happen is the person in that situation has to get to the point where they recognize it and they grow and they don't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Because you can be there for them and you can say it again and again and again, but you got to remember they've got this other person chipping away at them, probably putting you down to them too. So they have to get to a point where it's just like, and it's hard and it takes a while, but you do get to a point where you're like, nah, I don't need you and your bullshit, mate. You're the one with the issue. I'm good. It's you that's got the issue. I'm good.
That's pretty unanimous. Moving on to for the culture. For the culture.
Quick question while you lot are singing. I think Auntie Nana, did you talk about us being on Pod Bible today?
Yeah, she did.
You see, you mentioned it, right? And you lot have listened to the episode, right? Did you hear yourself singing?
I thought it sounded all right.
Do you understand why me and Auntie Charlotte have issues with the singing?
For the culture. So, for the culture, where we get into what you're watching, what you're wearing, what's got us chatting in the popular culture streets, we got a couple of topics. Mary J. Blige has got candid about not having kids. She enjoys the freedom to do what she wants. Rihanna may have hinted at her baby's sex while shopping at Target. I think she was in the pink section. And we have the dancehall artist Spice, who's released a beautiful song called Pum Pum. Love Triangle Pum Pum, and it's just a very great commentary on the power of the pum pum. For those of you who don't understand the linguistics, pum pum means vagina, and that's that. We've also got a slew of new shows on Netflix. We got Young, Famous, and African, a reality show. You've got Bad Vegan, another bad scam story out there, and we have Love Is Blind season 2. Less couples said yes this time around. So what does that mean about Love Being Blind? And Top Boy 2, the biggest show out of the UK at the moment that's globally dominating this conversation. The ending was mod. We're talking, I don't know if we're going to do
spoilers. No spoilers.
Not everybody's watched it. However, Top Boy 2 is out as well. So what do you want to go into first?
Can we start? Can we just go through the list? I think Mary J. Blige. I was really uncomfortable watching this interview with her.
Okay.
Because I didn't feel like the guy. I just don't think you should ask people like how they feel about not having kids. I felt it was very insensitive, and I was uncomfortable with her answer. I don't know, but there was something. I got a feeling it just didn't sit well with me. I don't know if it's wholly true or what she's kind of come to a conclusion on. It just didn't feel real, and I just felt it was very insensitive to actually ask a woman like, "Are you okay with not having children?" I think that's really, yeah, no, I don't. I think it's crass. I was really like, ugh, and I didn't like that it was being shared around as well. I just didn't like this story. But I don't know. Am I alone in this feeling? Is it out of order, or am I being hypersensitive?
No, I don't think it's out of order. I think. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it, Clara.
Because what I was going to say is, how many men that don't have children get asked these questions? You know, there's an expectation. We've spoken about it so many times here that you have to have a child. Like, what she doesn't want them. You know, it's documented that she went through some stuff growing up. Maybe she's just decided that she doesn't want to have a child, and that's okay. That's okay for her. And I haven't watched it, but I just feel like it is. Why have you always got to adjust it? She's a successful, a hugely successful woman. Why is it then being boiled down to, are you okay that you've not had a kid?
Yeah,
I'm good. Can you not see I'm good? I'm fine. And if I wasn't, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that. And also, we don't know physically even what might be the issue there. Because a lot of people have come out and said, like Chrissy Teigen, for example, before her and John Legend had babies, she would get asked the question all the time. And she's having like miscarriages and stuff like that. And people just, it's very intrusive. You don't know what people have gone through. You shouldn't be able to ask people that, I think.
Auntie, anybody else?
Well, Auntie Sade. The only other person here. I wasn't. I think it's interesting actually, because I think like people, as a person without children that have actually given birth to, people feel like they have a right to know where you stand with these kind of issues. Like they have some sort of agency over your body, or they have to understand your decision making. Usually I would say it doesn't necessarily come from a bad place. It's not a negative place. They're just like curious, or they think really, highly of you and stuff. And they're just like, oh, so what's going on? Is there anything going on? That sort of thing. I think what's more, and I don't like to talk on this a lot either as well, kind of thing, because I just think it just like looks like just like tons of pressure. Do you know what I mean? And I've had pressure about having kids like literally my whole life. So yeah, it's a lot. And you know what? There might not be anything wrong. There's probably nothing wrong. Probably just doesn't want to have them. Do you know what I mean? And like I just think like that is always, you know, we're conditioned as a society to think like, oh, there must be, or there's something, do you know what I mean? To give reason to it, to make it make sense. Because the fact that women choose not to have children, it's such an alien concept in our society. It's do you know what I mean? Like, why? It's almost like, why would you? And I just think it's a really borderline sexist. Like the undertones of it is a very sexist opinion. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's it. Yeah, so I find it very tiresome. But I think her reasoning, what she said, something I completely resonate with. Do you know what I mean? And also as well, I was having this conversation with a friend who's she's probably going to have some kids kind of soon. Like, do you know what I mean? She's in a loving relationship and that's what she wants. And it's like such a beautiful thing. And I was saying that I saw that clip and I was just like, oh yeah, like that does kind of speak to me. And I have so many women around me in my age group, and like my circle of, or listen, my other circle of friends, they don't have kids. Like so many of them don't. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's I don't know. So it's not so alien to me. And I have like cousins that are older than me that don't have kids. Like, do you know what I mean? Like there's so many members of my family that don't. So it's just not as uncommon as people think. I think it's because it's Mary. I think people assume that she had kids as well. Do you know what I mean? As well. So hearing her speak on it, it's kind of like a little bit refreshing, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? And actually not being apologetic or even shying away from the conversation was actually quite inspiring, I think. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. I think I'll just say, I think the jury's out whether I think he has the right to ask her. I don't know. I really don't know. But I would imagine, because it's Mary, that her questions would be screened beforehand, so she would know what's being asked. But that's my assumption.
Yeah, I think it's all about tone and delivery. And I had a thought about whether he had the questions prior, where she had the questions prior, and she knew what she was going to be asked. I don't know. I didn't watch it either, so I don't know if it was a shock element reaction, Nana, or if it's defensive, where he said he felt discomfort and maybe her response wasn't necessarily truthful. Because sometimes you do. If you do feel defensive and backed against the wall, you might, well, I don't want kids, but has that always been the truth? But Mary's been pretty candid about not having kids and stuff like that, and she has been through a lot. So what's also commendable and what we could explore is if someone feels like, you know what, who I am is not a mother, and even the stuff that I've been through, and I'm not saying Mary's saying that, but some people don't recognize how broken they are and go on to have children and raise children that are broken, or impart their issues on their child, and you could have potentially worked on yourself and given yourself a more richer experience than becoming a mother because you felt the society said you have to, or whatever the situation. So I think there's lots of conversations, and I definitely understand what you're saying, Shadi. Like having someone that's unapologetic about not being a mother we need more representatives from that perspective, because there isn't a lot. There is the expectation as you're a woman, you're supposed to have a child, and that's it. And every woman's supposed to be maternal by default. It doesn't work like that. And not every situation has to go like that. So, the freedom, because when you have a child, you're not free ever. When you're 50, I mean, obviously obviously right now I can do what I want, my child, but there's mental freedom. I'm not free. My child, wherever she goes, wherever she is, I'm always tethered to that child and whatever she's doing. I'm not mentally free for me as a mother. So there's an element of freedom when you don't have that. You're just caring for yourself. Element of freedom.
I just want to challenge like two things. Like, do you know what I mean? About point about, because I think there is assumption that if someone talks about not having children and they say they don't want them, that they're lying. That is also like a very, very common assumption, that they're not telling the truth or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's also as well, I think you can be maternal without having kids.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I think the reason why I said that is because there are many reasons why people don't want to have children. And you're right. I just, it goes back to that thing of, do you have a right to ask somebody? Because there could be many reasons. One of the reasons could be you just don't want to have children because you just want to be you and you'd rather be an auntie, or you just don't like children. Whatever it is, it's your choice. And it could be a medical one, but whatever it is down to you, and somebody else doesn't have a right to ask you, because I doubt very much if you had a 50-year-old man sat there, successful in their career, Oscar nominated, Grammy award winning, all these mad things that, you know, successful, amazing things. The first thing that they would say is like, oh, how do you feel that you've not had any children? I think that's not in the same way.
Yeah.
I think most definitely.
I think the connotations are different. There's
that's what I'm trying to get to.
The connotations of shame attached to it. There's not
absolutely.
Kind of pressure.
Different. When George Clooney, before George Clooney got married and had kids, it wasn't, the connotations weren't the same. It was just like, he's a bachelor. He's always going to be a bachelor. He's the new Cary Grant. That's what it was. The connotations are most definitely different. And that's my part about where are you going with this question? Why are you asking this question? It's refreshing that if she wanted to talk about it, then great, fantastic. That's down to her. But equally, she could have said, I don't think that's any of your business.
All right. Next story, Rihanna may have maybe having a baby girl because she's shopping in a pink section. Or if you're trying to throw everybody off and talk about, I'm going to have a genderless child, my baby boy is going to be wearing pink. What do you think she's doing? Do you think she's just playing us and whatever? Do you care?
I think she's having a girl.
Go on.
I think she's definitely having a girl because she's spreading. Her nose has got bigger. She looks like she's having a girl. I think she's having a girl. I think the shop for Target has nothing to do with her own child. She's probably was in Target, perhaps are there, and you're like, let's give them something. And she went to the girl section. But if she has a boy, I will be so shocked. I would bet £10 that she is having a girl.
As much as I love Rihanna and I love that she seems to be in like a super happy place and stuff, like I really don't care what the sex of her child is. Like, do you know what I mean? It just as long as she's happy and like nothing traumatic happens, then I'm happy for her.
Cool. Auntie Far.
Yeah. Happy, healthy baby. That's all we want. I was more annoyed at the fact that people are like, she's a billionaire. Why is she shopping in Target?
Oh my God.
She can shop wherever the hell she wants to shop. If she wanted, for all we know, she could have bought all of Target. We don't know what she was doing in there. Maybe she's going to start a Target franchise. Who knows what she was doing in there? But she's allowed to shop where she's going to shop. Babies shit so much. So, like, my daughter, I used to, when I would leave home, I would have to leave with about 4 or 5 changes of clothes.
Yeah.
Because she would literally projectile poo everywhere and it'd go all up her back. I threw away so many baby grows. Why is she going to go and spend Balenciaga money on baby grows when she can go to Target and get 10 for £2? I know where I'm going. Billionaire status. So let's remember, Rihanna was not born rich. Okay? Yeah. She knows how to keep her change.
But most wealthy people don't shop like that anyway.
Exactly.
Like they shop in standard places, and everybody shops in Target. It's just a standard thing. It's like, I was surprised she was shopping, but it's Rihanna, and she's been out with her belly everywhere, so it kind of makes sense that she was in Target. Next, we're gonna have pictures of her in McDonald's or something. It's like she's everywhere.
She's out there having fun. Okay. Spice's song, Triangle Pum Pum. How do you feel about the Triangle Pum Pum?
Wow, you really just remixed the whole...
Love Triangle Pum Pum. Sorry. I forgot the word.
What's a triangle pum?
Yeah. I forgot the word love. Love triangle.
Auntie Charlotte, was it you that brought this to our attention?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You want to sing it? Do you want to sing it?
I mean, the thing is that I think she's just extended it because basically the lyrics tell the saga of China and the Kardashians and Kylie and stuff. So yeah, I think it was told through the narrative of Pum Pum, basically.
Yes,
So,
the power of Pum Pum.
Friggin' so highly entertaining and just very dancehall. I just love it, and I love Spice. I think she's brilliant, and yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
It's just a great song.
Genius. It is literally genius. Like, if you have never read a gossip mag, you've never watched a reality show, you don't know who any of these people are, all you got to do is listen to this song because it is so on point. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to get the lyrics. Let me get the lyrics.
Oh, John, get the lyrics. Read it out.
But I can't find the...
You know, it's a brilliant song. I just love it. It breaks it down. Power of the Pum. It's just a power of Pum Pum.
But also, it's like the Kardashians are like the telenovela that keeps on giving. Like, you couldn't write what takes place in that family,
mate,
and have children produced that are actually like living within it. Is what it's bonkers.
Nonsense.
So it says, Black China was Tiger's Pum Pum. Kylie Jenner used the heart Pum Pum. Take away China. Take away Tiger from China Pum Pum. So China just give Kylie brother Pum Pum. And I sorry, so funny. I remember
I need more emphasis on the Pum Pum from you, please.
The Pum Pum.
China was Tiger Pum Pum. Kylie used a fruit Pum Pum to take. I can't even do it. I can't do a Jamaican accent like that.
No, I can't. I'm not even gonna try. But I remember having like a few years ago, walking with my friend. We just went on this walk even before the pandemic, and we were chatting and we were just talking about this, like this whole triangle, and just saying that actually that China's got the last laugh because she has the one true Kardashian. So do you know what I mean? All the rest of them technically are not Kardashians. Yeah. So she's got like the one true king, like Game of Thrones, basically.
Yeah, it's true. Her child is a Kardashian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All powerful.
Well, that's on that. Anyway, have you guys watched any of the reality shows that are out? Young, Famous and African, Bad Vegan, Love is Blind, and then obviously a lot of reality show, Top Boy. Anything to say on that before we move on?
I started watching Bad Vegan.
Yes, I've watched it.
Oh, I haven't watched it. Jesus crumbs. What I say about Bad Vegan is the woman that is you picked a man based on your dog's affection to him. Come on.
But people and their dogs, it's real, you know. It's their baby.
Nonsense.
Wild.
Yeah, it's so obviously, well, it's a story about which kind of has underlying tones of con artistry. Do you know what I mean? And I think that this woman, I'll just say briefly, this woman, she had a very popular raw vegan restaurant, and she meets someone and her life goes upside down once she meets them. And it just tells the story from her perspective and from her staff team's perspective in documentary format. And it's just like super friggin' interesting. Again, like based on it's a true story in recent times as well. And it's just like, I don't know, when I see like this recent times, I'm just like, I know where I was that time. Like, you know what I mean? And this is happening across the world. Like, it's just very, very fascinating. And it kind of just, I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
But
it's not been out long enough as well. I haven't seen much talk on it yet. It may be one of those slow burners, and
it's in the top 10 though, so I think it's getting out there. Yeah, but it's just very, very bizarre and interesting. Even more bizarre than Inventing Anna. I think, because I think Inventing Anna is pretty more straightforward of these types of shows so far, but like the Tinder, it gives me Tinder swindler vibes.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, like with the whole enemies after me, like kind of thing. So yeah.
What
Has
else
everyone seen Young, Famous and African?
I watched half.
I started watching it.
Yeah, I think I watched maybe 2 and a bit episodes.
I watched half an episode.
I finished it today. It was on all day.
Yeah.
I didn't like it up until maybe episode 3. It wasn't grabbing me,
Mm.
but I can't wait for the next one. Like, I'm so hooked. I love all of them now. I'm such a fan of all of the Africans. I was just really surprised. Yeah, I was surprised at the story of it because it's such reality TV. Obviously, it's not real, but yeah, I like them. There's
Is it
elements of reality-ish personalities in there, but
the Zimbabwean guy looks like
yeah.
he's my ex-boyfriend's family.
Oh wow.
Oh really?
Really, really. Like, I keep looking at him like, you look like one of them lot.
He could be though.
And like, they're from that got
Their
money.
money, didn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
they could be. That could be.
Wow.
That's an interesting. I really enjoyed it.
I
Really,
think
really.
it's great. I love it. I love it. I think it's just, you know, although there is a trend to kind of just show this side of Africa, like affluent Africans, but there is, it's definitely feeding into that trend, which is a bit stereotypical. But I'm just like, I haven't finished it, by the way, as well, but I'm just so like that they're willing to do this, do you know what I mean? And air out their business like this. It's just, I freaking love it. It's like car crashy at the same time,
Yeah.
but like I like that they're going full hog. I love, what's the girl's name? What's the woman's name? The one who's got the 15-year-old that's got her own apartment.
Oh, what is her name? I can't remember what her name is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, or something. I can't remember. I think it'd be
It's like Tile.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't remember what her name is.
I know she's my favorite.
She's so naughty.
Well, I've only watched a couple, and at the moment, she's not my favorite. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Where's she going with this behavior? I'm at that point with her.
Okay, yeah, she starts off that way. I feel her character kind of develops and graduates into her kind of matriarch position. Like, by the end, I was like, "You are my favorite."
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, her and Two Face's wife.
I love her.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, we've got to learn the name.
I think her Nigerian name's Annie.
Yeah.
I can't remember what.
Annie.
Yeah, Annie.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, you're right about stereotype. But, however, I much prefer this type of stereotype to the stereotype that they were spitting like 20, 30 years ago. You know, like no one has money over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to. I think we need to get to a place where there's a balance.
Yeah, we need the middle. We just
exactly, precisely. That's exactly what I meant by we need to get to a place where there's a balance.
Yeah,
but, very interesting.
It's
I watched the first episode with my daughter, and she's like, "Mommy, can we watch it?" I'm like, "I don't know if you should have watched it with me."
I don't know. I need to watch.
I kind of think there's not much. Oh, I can't think actually if there's anything inappropriate. Nothing stood out for me.
Is not like, it just reminds you of like how Afrobeats is. They might be talking about some slackness, but they do it in such a sweet.
Yes.
That you just don't even kind of like.
Yeah, that happened, and that's where I was like, I'm not sure. She's getting to that age where she understands things.
Yeah. No, it's a good one. I really, really recommend it. It's a good watch.
Go on, Auntie AK. Go on. No. Say what you want to say.
No. I'll try and watch it and see if I can remove all judgment from it on myself and watch it without judging it. I watched one. I did say, because to be fair, someone messaged in the morning in the group that I'm in saying that they did the whole very like, I'm all for Africans removing the stereotype visuals of the poverty, but this is not it. And I was like, first of all, your comment is kind of ill thought out, because this show shouldn't be judged against that. It should be judged against other reality shows, and that's it. Because there are definitely rich black Africans living like that, and it's normal. So you can't say that. And also, there's a plethora of content, film, TV shows, and the like from Africa that tells all sorts of walks of life as well. We can talk about what gets plucked out, but that's everything to do with our culture, or anyone's culture that gets plucked out and remixed and showcased, because for the views, as it were. So we know that sensationalism and dramatics work. So they are going to go for the most bolshy storyline. Or the flip side would be a bunch of flyer-ridden Africans in a reality show. We got, it would never be. We have yet to find the middle ground. But then we have Big Brother. We have other we have Big Brother Africa, the different African versions. We have all sorts. We have films, we have TV shows. Like I said, my show was Jiva, I think it was called. I think it was South African as well, about the young woman. The dance one. Loved that series to death, and they were just regular people. So there's, and you know, Nollywood and Gollywood and all those, you know, there's love out there. This can exist as it can exist. The only thing that I'm just, because I don't like reality shows necessarily, and I don't like when I can see the script, but what pleasantly reminded me that obviously all reality shows aren't just about the hype of the title. You do get storylines, and you can't avoid the actual lives of these people that we get insight into. So there's that narrative that does carry through. And then when you do watch a reality show, those are things I picked up on. So some of the narratives about being a mother and parenting and having the baby father troubles and, you know, those kind of conversations, definitely I was like, okay, cool, I could potentially watch this. And maybe my thing against, so the only thing my judgment, I don't like the influence of the American reality show. I hate that. Sometimes I wish we were untouched in our depictions, whether it's a Caribbean show or an African show that hasn't been touched by the heightened exaggerations and dramatizations of American culture. So I just want to know who we are without that. So when it's like girl and that kind of dramatic behavior, I don't like it. I'm a little bit judgy of it, and that's on me. So sometimes that irritates me, but that's why I don't like watching Real Housewives of Atlanta and all that type of stuff. Okay. Or overly melodramatic about something that you can just talk to each other. You can argue, but you don't have to do the whole dramatics. I don't like that, and I think it's created a kind of culture.
Because they're African, they're not doing that.
They're being.
I think it's similar to Real Housewives or even Love and Hip Hop. Like it's similar convention wise, but I don't think there's just not the level of violence that you see on there. I think
I don't watch. So I don't know that.
Way more tongue in cheek, even when they're arguing. Like I was just laughing because it's so sanitized arguing. It's not what we've kind of been faced with, like what we've seen with the Real Housewives and Love and Hip Hop franchise. They're not there yet, but by season 5.
What was the reason?
I think sometimes that I don't like, because I like sometimes I think we are who we are, and I love for us to bring out our isms rather than adopting other people's isms, because then it just gets in.
I don't know if that's fair to say. Like, I just don't.
No, it might not be, but that's what even with my child in London started doing all that dramatics, I find it irritating.
But you know, like people, what do you call it? Is like our culture, as in British culture or Black British culture, you know, kind of like is being adopted in like the States at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
What we're saying, kind of thing. We're influenced by so many different things. I just think it's just a natural form of expression, and express yourself the way you want to. I just think, like, you know, I can't really speak to the Eastern or Southern African characters and stuff, but like definitely the Nigerian characters, that drama is just it's always been there. Do you know what I mean? It's just it's just naturally there. To be honest, they even toned down. I'm surprised, you know, she didn't faint. You know?
That's what I'm saying. It was very subtle.
That's what I'm saying. Because I don't watch because of those things that I don't like about reality shows and scripted reality. So there's a lot of stuff that I have very stereotypical views upon. So like I said, when I watched it, I was like, actually, all those elements aren't necessarily all there all the time and getting in the way of what I want to see people living their lives. So that was quite nice and a reminder that not all the shows are like that. So I'm on that exploration myself, and I think it makes a difference that they're people that I can see and relate to rather than another type. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, it's all part of it. It's all part of it. Anything else? We move on. Love is Blind, Top Boy 2.
No, we don't want to talk about Top Boy, right? Because
okay, cool. Love is Blind.
Top Boy, we can wait a second. Love is Blind. I finished that quite a while ago now, so the only thing that stood out was Dipti and Sheikh, the Asian couple, and his level of self-hate towards her was like so annoying.
Horrible person, and they tried to tell him several times.
Oh my god!
pull back, stop talking, and he wasn't hearing it at all. He was so, and he is just another example of like, just because you have a different opinion doesn't mean that you're right. You're not enlightened. Yes. Do you know what I mean? You're still an asshole. Like what you're saying is wrong, and you're making someone feel very uncomfortable. Everyone's trying to tell you, she's trying to tell you, and it's just out of order. I just thought he was just such a chauvinistic guy.
It was beyond.
Throughout the whole thing, if he didn't like physically, okay, cool. You can say that once, you know. You have to say every fucking 5 minutes. You
All
really
the
don't.
time.
Seriously.
And exploring.
But at the end of the day, you still said it. Do you know what I mean? You still fucking said it. It's just out of order. She's good. I mean, she's really, really good, because that's hurtful. It's actually really hurtful.
It's disgraceful.
Like to have your own internal struggle, of which they both discussed, about dating outside their race, and then to find someone that looks like you, to think that you have something, to only for them to say they're not even attracted to you, and continuously say it, and then be rude and disrespectful about it. What does that do to the psyche? No,
it's very interesting that it was brown people talking in that way, because we knew that narrative is usually on black folks exploring that. Like the fact that he kept saying that I see her as an auntie, because and I've never dated brown people. It's just like I would be so ashamed of my
I've not watched it yet.
Oh, sorry.
No. This is not something I would have said. Just like I said about Top Boy and those spoilers. Like I actually don't mind that you're saying, because I don't know if I do want to watch it. Like I was like, another one.
I was like that.
But sometimes when you've got these reality shows and it's so amazing the first time around and so much happens, and you feel like the next time around people that go on it are going on it because they've seen
what happened,
that they can, them as a person can go on. I think I'm a little bit skeptical, but that comment that he hasn't dated a brown person, I have very serious.
Both of them dated.
Well, I have very, very major concerns about people who have not dated people that look like them.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to date anybody. I'm not going to be your guinea pig. I'm not prepared to date anybody that hasn't dated a black person. I'm just not.
Because the thing is, they're essentially they're both in the same situation, but she wasn't
open to exploring.
Feel bad because of do you know what I mean? He was insulting her to praise his preference. Do you know what I mean? And he didn't have to do that. And it's just fucking.
And he's now chestnut. Yeah, he's out. He's now out in the world.
I don't date black women because you're angry, or I don't date black women because you don't.
And he kept saying she's brilliant, everything I've ever looked for, best friend, this, that, and the other. I'm just not attracted to her. And he kept equating that to her more or less being brown. And he's a new woman out there. And he's a dumbass, because the woman that you're with is on the gravy boat train. I mean, whatever. You just met her, and that's your woman. She's blonde. She's a white woman. And
was it wife swap again? Did they do that in the show?
No.
Or was just like at the reunion?
You know what was the guy? Shane? Is it Shane?
I mean, he was weird from the jump. Shane Natalie
go onto the show like he was unstable.
Not well.
Like I like
white guy with the teeth and the kind of manic behavior.
Natalie basically like he was like, "Oh, do you think I'm pretty?" And she was just like, "Maybe." Like, but she was joking. Like, you know those snarky type. Like, but she's playing. He got upset. He lost his mind.
I don't know how she watched.
You're not saying nice things to me.
It was beyond. He was a weirdo. I thought your resting face is manic.
Yeah,
that's that all the time. Eyes wide, teeth open. Like his whole persona was manic. So,
I was reading that he was on stuff. Like it literally
people saying
he's on Adderall. That he was taking. He may have been taking coke. Like there was, and he was drinking a lot while they was there, and that was what they were trying to sort out between when they got back together again. And she was like, "We're trying to work through things." It was that he drinks a lot, and he
was childish. The epitome of childish. So childish.
And you saw how he was slurring every time he was talking. It was like he was slurring.
Like, I'm sorry, and I just can't fucking do it with it. It's you.
It's just like. Are you all right, bro? You're on a TV show. Like, this is why you're.
It was wild.
But as Auntie Forrest said, it's that thing of the, because I was reluctant to watch it second time around. Like, do I need to? Then I thought, let me binge it. And I did get into it. I did fast forward through some of the bits I didn't need to see and just got to the end. But it was interesting to see, I think less couples said yes.
Yeah.
So I wondered what that was about.
Because the guys were psychopaths. Like, I didn't know what was going. There was definitely something going on with Salvador. And
Salvador and what's her name? She looked like, did you not think she looked like J-Lo? She had like a
I see what you're saying.
Might be J-Lo, yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
I get, but like, I think my thing from what they wasn't saying is that that she was taking the piss. That's what I think, because she was really coming across to this like, oh, I'm so gentle and empathetic and so nice and stuff and everything like that. But you was willing to talk to the next man after he's engaged. So what are you talking about? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think she's messy. I think she's more messy than they let on. And he just made it like, tried to save face with her. And I think the girl that married Bear, what's his name?
Oh, Jarrett and black couple, basically.
Yeah, I just think like, this guy is going to cheat on you.
Oh no!
I don't want it to happen, but I think he is. If he does, no, okay, let me say, you might have to cut this bit out. But if he cheats on her, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
Because she was his backup. Do you know what I mean? And if J-Lo girl said yes to him at that bonfire thing that they had, or showed that she was more on it, he would have jumped ship 100%. So yeah, I think
I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think
if
they might
would love to happen so bad that you can't see it. But I don't think he's definitely going to cheat on it. Definitely.
No, he definitely could do. I wouldn't even say like I wouldn't put that past him. But I don't know if that would be I don't think that would be a breaking point for her. So
no,
I think if they last 2 years, I think they'll be together.
Yeah.
Like she'll just ride with him. I could see her doing that.
Would you do that though? Would you do so? Basically, Farah, just to explain what happened, yeah. So, Jared, he basically expressed his feelings for the J-Lo girl, and she basically said no, and so because she said no, then he asked the other girl, and she knew that the other girl had said no to him.
No, because that's going to linger over your whole relationship, isn't it? Like he's only with you because you're not his first choice.
I think the way it was set up, because he could have easily backed out at any time as well. After the fact, he could have been like, nah, I don't want to do this. I definitely would have felt insecure at the beginning, and I definitely that there's a scene where she, what's her bloody name, J-Lo girl, kind of tells him that, how she feels and all that type of stuff, and he's like, damn. But he sticks with Ayana. So there's always, because
how far down the line were they when she? I mean, I don't. Had they seen each other by that point? Is it that?
Yeah, they've seen each other, and so when they go on the holiday, after they go on the holiday together, and all the couples meet for the first time.
No, they hadn't seen each other when he asked her.
Okay, because okay, all right. Okay. That's a bit different then, I think. Kind of. It's because remember the first series where I want to say Brad, his name starts with a B.
Oh, Brad and Jessica.
Brad and Jessica.
Yeah.
Was it Brad?
Jessica, the one that let them.
No,
Jessica was the blonde girl, so he didn't end up with her. But Jessica.
It's not Brad, but it begins with a B.
It begins with a B. So the whole time they were talking, it seemed like he was gonna ask Jessica to go with him, but he ended up going with the girl that he's still married to now, actually. Yeah. And at the time, it was like,
yes, the guy that looked like a jock. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. But at the time, it was kind of like,
I remember that.
How does she feel? Because he's been talking to this other one and expressing like he feels like she's the one type vibes, and then now he's gone for you. So I suppose
No, but if you ask, so basically they were there 50-50, so he could have gone either way, but he asked her and she said no, and then he asked the other one. So
I think for me, speaking honestly, just for Farah, I don't think I'd say yes to that, because I don't want to be someone's second choice. I don't want to go into a relationship feeling like you didn't really want me, you would have been somewhere else. I want someone to want me. Isn't that the whole point of it? Like, you really want someone to be into you.
I think it depends. I agree with that, but I just think it depends on because I think in life you never know what choice you were, where you come in the rankings until they show it. The only thing that might make me think is that he chose me, because he could have easily said no and not proposed, and he could have easily in the aftermath, when they were in that space of reunion, been like, I've seen her now, and actually I know that I can't marry Iana, because even if I can't have that woman, I really do. She is the one. I think but there was a moment when he had that bit of realization, like, nah, she's not I swear there was a moment when he said, that's not actually the girl. I swear there was something. He said something I need to I'm not going to rewatch it, but I swear there was something he said that he was like,
because I was watching him closely, because I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
Yeah, you know what I mean? They definitely did have a conversation, maybe second time that they were all linked together. And she was like after him and J-Lo were speaking, and then they got home, and it was like in the morning, and she was like, how are you feeling? Are you certain it's me? And he was like, it's you. I've seen her, we've met, we've spoken, you know what it is, it's you. But also what they didn't, and I watched her in a live talking about it, she also had another guy. And it's like, we didn't see that play out at all. And she was like, she had to.
And that's different.
She was more like, Jarrett was more above the guy, but she was prepared that if he didn't propose, she would have carried on with the other dude. So I guess they didn't show us her story. So it seemed like she was just waiting on him. We never saw her talking to anybody else, but it's television, isn't it?
Yeah,
you never know what's going on. It's like, it's what they present to you.
I think it's all in the knowing, because you know certain stuff, but there's a lot of stuff we don't know when you go into a relationship. Like I said, someone could chirp you and you don't know how many people down the list.
Yeah, but if I do know that they were speaking to
that's
somebody
the thing.
else,
No, I get it. I'm just saying.
From me,
that's my point. You're absolutely right. You don't know, but I don't. But equally, there's certain things I don't want to know. I don't want to know that I'm second best.
I think if we have an honest conversation, and it is something that I think the conversation that they had, and you have to explore it.
He chose.
Yeah, maybe. Well, they're still married. Let's see.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't ask any man not to back out, because they'd rather be with someone than be alone.
And that's what I was thinking the whole time. You were like, but he still carried on, and I was like, but that's not surprising to me that he still carried on
at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, the spectre of the other woman, you don't ever want that in your relationship. You don't want to always have the ghost of the other person. So it'd have to be in the moment. If she can see into him, but he does need to curb his she stays at home. She's very introvert. He's extrovert. But sometimes yin and yang work. So we'll see. We'll see. His friends were irritating me the first time around. Then they were all
they were terrible.
They were such terrible friends. Like, you should, like, that's a typical friends you don't want. Like,
immature.
Really immature. But then every single
knows who he was, and
exactly. Yeah. But then they're all barling.
Wait, do the thing that your mum says. What does your mum say about your friends and your character? I just like how you do it.
Tell me your friends how you
no, do it how your mum says it.
I can't undermine.
That's the whole bit that I like. I don't want you to say it. I like how your mum says it.
I'm caught off guard. But yes, she said, show me your friends, I'll show you your character.
No, I don't like it like that. I want to hear it.
You're making me perform like a monkey. Stop it.
Monkey dance.
But anyway, all right, let's move on. Sad, mad, and glad, guys. What's made you sad, mad, and glad? I go first. Sad, obviously, definitely childQ. Mad, I wish I was going to Ghana. Family have gone to Ghana, and I'm jealous. Also mad that I heard my neighbor's alarm this morning, and I had to bang down the floor. Like, what the hell? Why am I hearing it? Like, it's in my room. Why am I waking up at 6 with you? I don't want to. So do not do that again.
No.
How? I don't even understand. I don't know. It's like she's got it. I don't know whose room's underneath mine. They've got it on the windowsill with the window open, so it can come up into my room. I was so fuming. And also, just the abundance of scammers out there. That's it. Auntie Farah, what's made you sad, mad, and glad?
Sad at childQ, and also having to explain to my 8-year-old daughter about the situation. And we were listening to the news, and they were just talking about what had happened. She asked me, I didn't even mention color, and she said to me, "Was she black?" That's from my 8-year-old. Why is that the first thing that comes into her head? That just shows you the type of environment we're living in, and it's a very, very sad state of affairs. Mad at Metropolitan Thames Valley Housing for their continued lack of completion, care, and communication. Today is the day that was the deadline for them to either let me know what they're going to do about my stage 2 complaint or to give me a date where it would be reviewed. And they've done nada, nothing. The key lock with my spare key is still on the door for the last 3 months. They have done nada, nothing. The damp, the mold is back to how it was before I moved out in certain areas. They have done nada, nothing. Again, that is Metropolitan Thames Valley Housing. You have failed. So I'm mad about that. On another side note, I'm mad because my mum keeps posting amazing pictures of herself in Grenada, and I'm like, all right, lady, calm down. And she's like, I'm not showing off. I'm just going out. I'm just living my life. It's basically what she told me the other day. I was like, all right, lady, calm down. And I am glad at starting my new job.
Yay. Auntie Nana, what's made you sad, mad and glad?
Okay. Sad at childQ. Also really sad at hearing about the plane crash in China as well on a Boeing 737 after watching the documentary on those planes, and it's like another faulty plane again. So yeah, that was really sad. Got really mad reading Kemi talking about Kemi, whatever her name is, badenoch or whatever, talking about childQ. That was infuriating, but I find that MP so annoying anyway. And super glad this weekend, got to spend some time with AK and her lovely daughter, my niece. And we met up with Cindy and just had a little tour of Peckham, which was quite cool. And then we also bumped into Michelle, who's the general manager for Brixton Market, and she listens to our show on a weekly basis and literally was like, I could hear your voices and I know your voices. And that was just really
No way!
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
That was lovely, like bumping into somebody else that listens to the show. That was really cool.
Auntie Sade.
So for me, just like same with you guys, but my sad and mad is the whole situation with childQ. And I'm glad I got to catch up with my friend Jem over the weekend. We had brunch at Trap Kitchen, which is a Black-owned restaurant in Balham, and we had seafood boil, and it was absolutely amazing.
Trap Kitchen is very good.
Ooh.
I can say that as well. It's very good.
I'll add my mad just to shout out my cousin Sabina, who I'm putting you on blast, being that she went to Trap Kitchen and didn't get me nothing. And when I got to her house, she had like a little like residue. I was like, how did we get here? So anyway, that was an extra mad. Yeah, man, guys, that my loves, my darlings, my beloveds, is that. Just wanted to read the comment on. Oh yeah, I lost it for a minute. On our YouTube way of watching us, T. Smith commented, I just love everything about Auntie Nana and always have. She's a straight shooting, factual speaker with incredible intellect, with class and pose. A true anchor for Black women and upcoming young Black people. Can I adopt your Auntie Nana? She then goes on to say, I thoroughly enjoy each and every one of my sisters on this panel. And I know this may sound sad, look forward to your show. My Tuesdays is not the same without listening to your views on a variety of subjects. It is too therapeutic and refreshing. I truly feel like you're the sisters I never had. The chemistry between you all is impeccable. You bounce off one another so well, and I'm internally grateful that I have remained a dedicated listener and feel a part of it. I hope this does not come across as stalkified. I have so many of your podcasts saved on my tablet, so when I need that reset after an exhausting day with these passive-aggressive, condescending, blue-eyed people, I need that boost knowing that I can connect with my sisters and reassure myself we are and we have gone through the same thing when it comes to surviving ungrateful Boris's Britain, and that we can all embrace in solace, that we are all in it together, and sometimes I forget. At times I feel like I'm drowning in the sea of Uncle Tom's and C's in life and the workplace, that I feel like I'm the only one who's left who strives for greatness for our people. And you ladies restore my faith, in particularly Auntie Nana, Auntie AK, Auntie Farah, that there are still some of us around. Thank you all, and continue to what you do what you do.
I don't restore the faith.
Oh wow! I didn't. As I was reading that, I didn't realize.
Auntie Sade, I think what she did was she
I
meant
think
to
she
write
was-
you, because she'd already talked about Nana. I think that's a typo, quite frankly.
I always like to say I think that's a typo.
She'd already look. She wants to adopt Nana. That's why I was like, remember, let's go and have her, but you just need to pay us.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you all, and continue to do what you do best, because we know that aunties know best. Get it? And yeah, I definitely think it was a typo too. Thank you, T Smith. That's a wonderful comment. And though, you know, we ask for likes, comments, and subscribes and all that type of stuff to boost us, it is actually the work that we do is real. We do it because we love our community, we love us, and we are celebrating the voice of the auntie. And it's important. We're not doing this just for the fun of it all. There's deeper meaning to it, and why we come together every week, committing. It's hard in the work that we do on a daily basis, but it's important that our voices are heard, and for people, as you said, T Smith, to feel like they're not alone in the day-to-day struggles of living in definitely Boris Johnson's UK right now. So we really appreciate comments like that. It keeps us going, because when we are feeling down or feeling like not maybe less secure in our moments, hearing that, you know, the reassurance of our audience listening and that we are making some sort of difference to some people is really powerful and empowering for us as well. So as much as we're empowering you, you also empower us. So thank you so much for your comments. And on that note, this has been your Aunties Could Never. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on all the social media platforms. You can also watch us back on Facebook and YouTube. And don't forget to do like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll be back as usual next week with another show. I'm Auntie AK, and I'm saying good night.